Chapter 2466. The situation before them was out of everyone's expectations. The battle between the dragon and the phoenix was hovering in the sky. In midair, the battle between Su-Yi and Draconis was even more eye-catching. Nobody thought that a young man in his early 20s could fight against Draconis to such an extent. In the sky, Su-Yi's Emperor Sparrow's blood was burning red. His red eyes were filled with killer's intent. Then, rays after rays of starlight flashed across Su-Yi's hand. Sky bearing 1,000 hands. Golden dragon suppresses the 9 clouds. Blade of the illusory sky. Hom, hom, hom. At this moment, Su-Yi had already pushed the power of his heavenly origin demon soul to the extreme. He activated the image of the heavenly demon and merged it with the power of the Emperor Sparrow. The immense power of the divine beast combined the 3 moves into one and blasted towards Long Xiang. At once, an earth-shattering explosion was heard. A crimson-red halo filled the sky. A giant pillar of light pierced through the sky. The entire heavenly palace began to shake. Swoosh! On the other side, the more Draconis fought, the more shocked he became. The more he fought, the angrier he became. He didn't understand why he couldn't kill Su-Yi so easily, even though he was already so powerful and had only reached the peak of martial arts for a split second. Su-Yi, I want you dead. At once, the corner of Draconis's lips dropped. His eyes shot out a golden dragon's killer's intent as he set up an inhibition spell in front of him. Waving his hand, an eerie hand seal changed. Draconis's black hand gently drew across the air before him. Countless rays of golden dragon light rushed over. The golden dragon roared and sent Su-Yi's attack flying. Heaven and earth rumbled, and under the loud sound of a sonic boom, the corner of the palace behind Long Xiang, which was at least 1,000 meters long, was reduced to dust. Hiss, hiss. So powerful! Draconis actually dodged Su-Yi's killing move so easily, but what was even more surprising and exciting was that Su-Yi was still persevering under such circumstances. Suddenly, tears of excitement and exclamations spread among the crowd. Never in their wildest dreams would they have thought that the future of the Sky Barbarians would be in the hands of a 20-year-old youth. Everyone felt helpless and guilty, but most of them looked up to this young king of heaven's pride with reverence. Who said that young people weren't arrogant? My generation slays demons in the face of the wind. The universe does not disappoint the young. Sister, you've found the right person. Duanmu Qingtian smiled sadly, his face turning red. At this moment, blood was seeping out of his chest, and the black lines on his neck were making Duanmu Qingtian's voice weaker and weaker. Even standing had consumed all of Duanmu Qingtian's cultivation and strength. If Heaven Barbarian only has one master in the future, he will be the King of Heaven. Su-Yi, you're the most powerful person in Heaven Barbarian. Su-Yi, you can do it. The Thunder Fire Temple will take you as our master. The Myriad Sword Alliance will follow you to the end. So will Sky Sea City. Yen Mietian and Duguhen turned around and looked at Sky Sea City. It was Ing Wuxiu's voice. Tian Junyi stood aside and looked at the magnificent scene in front of him. He had already lost his mind and did not know what to say. Bah! Yen Mietian and Duguhen snorted at the same time. Yen Mietian snorted and turned his head to look at the battlefield. Above the Sky Palace, the dragon and the phoenix roared. Desolation filled the air, and the golden roar was accompanied by a sky full of fire. The Sky Palace was instantly turned into ruins. Roar! The roar of a beast reverberated through the mountains and rivers. Under the continuous sound of the explosion, the void within thousands of miles was shattered. A violent storm of fire swept across the sky, and the sacred fire lit up the world. Boss, hold on for a while longer. The demonized worm is not easy to deal with. I'll come and help you. Huff! Panting heavily, Su-Yi's skin was covered in wounds. Blood was dripping from his wounds. His eyes were blank, and his face was pale as he slowly raised his head. Dong, dong, dong. Su Yi's ears were like a vacuum. The sound of the storm dissipated, and the ethereal sound made Su Yi hear his own heartbeat. Little handsome Su was not in a good state either. The huge body of the phoenix was surrounded by a black mist. Many places that were covered by the black mist were dripping with a mysterious red light. When the red light dripped onto the ground, it set off a sea of fire. How much longer can you hold on? Your cultivation is increased by external forces. It's not your own. Draconis squinted his eyes. His black pupils were like an owl's as he looked at Su Yi. Draconis's voice entered Su Yi's ears. The starry sky sword in his hand was almost unsteady. Veins popped out on his face. He also knew that the fire elemental yuan qi in his body was starting to slow down. The Emperor Sparrow's blood essence was also starting to burn. Looking at Long Yang, the corners of Su Yi's mouth curled up slightly. He said coldly and disdainfully, "Shouldn't you be saying this to yourself?" Draconis was speechless. Su Yi gathered all the strength in his body, and the sound waves from his chest resounded through the sky. Draconis, you have the blood of the Long family. You are already more outstanding than others. You should inherit it well. This is one of the external forces. You later cultivated the Devil Dao and did all kinds of evil. This is the second external force. How can you say that I borrowed external forces? Have you forgotten the teachings of the five-clawed golden dragon? Straightening his body, Su Yi took a deep breath. The 3 bottles of spirit liquid entered his body again. His eyes focused, and a resolute desire to die rose in him. It was Draconis who directly caused the death of the five-clawed golden dragon. Su Yi wanted to get revenge for this. Draconis's dark eyes rippled, and the aura around him rose rapidly. His originally cold face became nervous. You are indeed that old dragon's man. Tell me, what did he give you? Looking at Draconis, Su Yi felt that he was like a child asking for candy. Keeping the starry sky sword, Su Yi summoned the blood demon killing god sword again. Boom! The blood demon descended. The red light was dazzling, and an unparalleled wind blew away the filth in front of him. In the air, Su Yi slowly summoned a dragon-shaped jade token from his chest that was suffused with golden light. Wind and thunder surged, and the golden dragon's aura whistled. When the token appeared, it instantly set off a huge wave in front of everyone. Immediately, the heavenly aura surged and shook everyone's soul. In an instant, everyone present stared at the jade token and argued endlessly. The dragon's aura was vast and mighty, and the dragon's head on the jade token was ferocious. The sharp dragon's roar pierced through the sky, and a great pressure instantly suppressed everyone. It was as if the real primordial golden dragon had descended into the world. The moment the golden dragon soared, everyone was in an uproar. That's a dragon scale. It's the dragon scale of the primordial golden dragon. Oh my god! Su Yi actually has such a treasure. Ha ha ha, this time, the bloodline that Draconis is so proud of is also suppressed. Draconis old man, you are shameless. Su Yi is the real dragon. In the golden storm, the dragon's roar was sonorous. The black-striped golden dragon screamed, and a trace of fear appeared in its eyes. It immediately fled. The black-striped golden dragon fled quickly in the air, and quickly arrived behind Draconis. Draconis looked at the spinning golden dragon scale, and the golden dragon's chi and blood in his body instantly surged. He roared as if he had gone crazy. The old dragon even gave this to you. Are you the dragon god's messenger that it mentioned? At this time, Su Xiaoshui had also returned to Su Yi's side. Looking at the shining dragon scales that were as bright as the sun, his small eyes rolled around in shock. Ignoring Draconis' fingerprints, Su Yi opened his arms. The golden light on the dragon scale instantly rose and attached to Su Yi's body. Roar! The palm-sized dragon scale appeared in front of the heaven barbarians for the first time. As if it was alive, It merged with Su Yi's demon god battlesuit. Clatter! The layers of the demonic god battlesuit began to change. The golden dragon's scales opened up, and the dazzling golden armor appeared behind Su Yi, together with a cape with golden blood patterns on it. At first glance, Su Yi's limbs and torso were covered by the golden armor. Suddenly, his body exuded a powerful dragon's aura that illuminated the world. Chapter 2467. The black-striped golden dragon fled rapidly in the air, and arrived behind Draconis in no time. Long Qing looked at the spinning golden dragon scales and roared like a madman as the golden dragon blood in his body surged. "Old dragon even gave this to you. Are you the divine dragon's messenger?" At this time, Su Xiaoshui had also returned to Su Yi's side. Looking at the shining dragon scales that were as bright as the sun, his small eyes rolled around in shock. Ignoring Draconis' fingerprints, Su Yi opened his arms. The golden light on the dragon scale rose and attached to Su Yi's body. Roar! The palm-sized dragon scale appeared in front of the heaven barbarians for the first time. It merged with Su Yi's demon god battlesuit as if it was alive. Clatter! The layers of the demonic god battlesuit began to change. The golden dragon's scales opened up, and the dazzling golden armor appeared behind Su Yi, together with a cape with golden blood patterns on it. At first glance, Su Yi's limbs and torso were covered by the golden armor. The dragon patterns were vivid. Su Yi's body suddenly exuded a powerful dragon's aura that lit up heaven and earth. "Lord Demon King, I'll help you one last time," Su Yi thought. The old voice disappeared quietly. At this moment, a lifelike dragon head appeared on Su Yi's chest. Looking down at the changes in his body, Su Yi's heart skipped a beat. The demon god battlesuit and the dragon scale had merged perfectly. This was the last thing the golden dragon gave to the divine dragon commander. Thinking of the Emperor Sparrow's gift, the white flood dragon's talent, and the golden dragon's last gift, Su Yi could not help but feel a lump in his throat. These divine beasts were all trying to pass on their loved ones to the next generation, so why was Long Quang so deranged? He shook his arm, and the demon god battle dragon armor glowed with a mysterious golden light. The roar of a dragon resounded through the sky and broke through the clouds. Su Yi's eyes instantly darkened. He pointed the blood demon killing god's sword at Draconis and said softly, "You have lost your conscience and abandoned yourself. Naturally, you won't receive the golden dragon's gift. Today, as the divine dragon commander, I will take away your golden dragon bloodline, purge the evil bandits and wipe out the evil." Ah! Upon hearing this, Draconis's hair and beard were already standing up. Black veins spread across his entire face. The strange pattern made Draconis look extremely ferocious. Draconis' voice could be heard along with the storm. "What divine dragon commander? What divine dragon emissary? They're all nothing in the face of power. Die, all of you!" So, Draconis instantly disappeared from where he stood, and the black gold dragon's figure also rapidly turned illusory. "Be careful! He's using his full strength." Su Xiaoshui did not expect Draconis to be so fast after activating his demonic cultivation. Their eyes widened. Draconis was already close to them. "Spread out!" Su Yi shouted and split up with Su Xiaoshui. Instantly, Draconis and the black dragon also moved out of the way. In the sky, Su Yi quickly used the Fuyao's 100 transformation step. In the storm, Draconis followed closely behind him. "So what if you can suppress my golden dragon's aura? I have enough demonic cultivation to kill you. Su Yi, go to hell." When he turned to look behind him, he saw a black longsword in Long Ying's hand slicing through the air. Immediately, countless black shadows rapidly bombarded him. Just like what Draconis had said, if Draconis did not use his golden dragon's aura, Su Yi's demon god battle dragon armor would not be able to withstand the attack with just his demonic chi. Clenching his teeth, After a period of recovery, the spiritual liquid in his body gradually transformed into Yuan Qi in the Divine Sea. Immediately, Su-Yi formed a hand seal and a vast and desolate aura covered the entire sky. Bang bang bang! In the Divine Sea, the mystical spirit fire crystal suddenly exploded. Frenzied energy flowed through the divine mystical spirit meridians, and an extremely hot current carried a huge amount of energy, causing the meridians to expand rapidly. Desolate heavenly star! Open! With a crisp sound, Su-Yi, who had turned around, no longer dodging. A huge pressure was released from his glabella. With the Imperial Sparrow's enhancement, Su-Yi's cultivation aura skyrocketed again. The divine light surrounding Su-Yi was dazzling. At this moment, Su-Yi's aura had already reached the peak of Origin Domain Stage 9. What? How is Su-Yi still able to increase his cultivation? Just how many secrets is he hiding? If that's the case, I'm afraid Draconis will really be in trouble. The eyes of the experts trembled as they looked at Su-Yi's godlike technique. They were all dumbfounded and amazed. Go for it. Su-Yi, kill Draconis and save the Sky Barbarian. Immediately after, whether it was inside or outside the restriction, everyone raised their arms and cheered loudly. Their excited voices surged into the sky. Bang! Hundreds of incomparably shrill ghostly howls resounded through heaven and earth. Countless black clouds dissipated, and Su-Yi and Draconis were already trembling in the black space. The entire space surged with wind and clouds, and a golden dragon rushed out. Su-Yi waved the blood demon killing god and charged out with the blood phoenix sky-splitting slash. The power of the Emperor's sparrow sword surged through heaven and earth, and the blood chi of the desolate barbarian covered the sky and earth. The space along the way was quickly shattered. After the sword radiance hit Draconis' figure, a wisp of black clouds dispersed, and Su-Yi was instantly shocked. Unparalleled dragon flash! Cursing in his heart, Su-Yi shouted in a low voice. He formed a hand seal, and 4 materialized soul avatars quickly dispersed. At this moment, Draconis' maniacal laughter resounded in the space. Su-Yi's face trembled, and a black shadow appeared directly in front of him. In the next second, the space seemed to have stopped. The demon god battle dragon armor shattered, and Su-Yi retreated rapidly. The Draconis in front of him seemed to be in slow motion as he bombarded Su-Yi's abdomen. Pft! His internal organs were tangled together again, and the divine black spiritual meridians' entrances swelled. Blood spurted out of his body. At this moment, Su-Yi's widened eyes finally saw Draconis' terrifying face clearly. In his eyes, Draconis had raised the black sword in his hand, and several black sword waves hit Su-Yi like ghosts. Attack my dragon palace! Kill! Kill my dragon army! Kill! Steal my dragon vein! Kill! 3 incomparably explosive black sword waves, each more ferocious than the last, crashed into Su-Yi's body as if they were going to swallow the stars. Suddenly, the demon god battle dragon armor shattered, the diamond body was torn apart, and the Yuanyang sky dragon bone was broken. 3 mouthfuls of black blood mist spread across the space, and Su-Yi fell backward as if he was paralyzed. He turned into a ray of blood light and swept across the sky. Boss! Su Xiaoshui, who was entangled with the black-striped golden dragon, shouted angrily. Flames burst out of his body, and he shook off the golden dragon and rushed toward Su-Yi. Master! King of Sky Prides! Su-Yi was continuously injured, and it was as if countless knives were carving on everyone's bodies. In an instant, the light above the space barrier surged, and tens of millions of figures were anxious. Chapter 2468. Outside the battlefield, everyone felt as if their hearts had been cut out when they saw that Su-Yi was severely injured. Suddenly, Duanmu Xiaoman and Duanmu Qingtian ignored their own injuries and led everyone to charge out. Light flashed and the air currents in the sky hit the battlefield like rainbows. Rumble! The battlefield was raging. Under the golden dragon's aura, the surroundings of the Sky Palace were as solid as a rock. How could these injured soldiers break through? This was no longer a battle that these super-strong cultivators could participate in. The final battle between the only two powerful cultivators of the Sky Barbarian continent was soul-stirring. It was destined to be known throughout the Sky Barbarian continent for eternity. Under everyone's horrified gazes, Draconis's face was dark and ruthless. He waved his hand casually at the crowd. Draconis's palm was wrapped in light. Under the powerful waves, hundreds of figures were blasted away like cannonballs. Everyone was drenched in blood, and the spray of blood dyed the entire sky red. They lay limp on the ground. Despair and heartache tore at every powerful cultivator. Their faces were pale and ugly. Sui, no. Duanmu Xiaoman and Duanmu Qingtian struggled to get up and stared at the battlefield. Their eyes were filled with grief and indignation. Boss! The childish voice filled the sky. Little handsome Su's eyes were bloodshot. He immediately changed his direction and charged toward Sui. In reality, little handsome Su was already covered in injuries from countless black shadows. Behind him, the golden dragon was chasing after him. Its flaming wings were trembling. It was a terrifying sight. At this moment, countless pairs of eyes were looking at Draconis as he raised his black sword. They did not dare to breathe. Those who block my path to God must die. Draconis's cold voice rang out. His face darkened, and the black sword waves surged out rapidly. Accompanied by thunderous black demonic aura, it slashed down abruptly. No! Sui. Duanmu Xiaoman knelt on the ground, her white hands deeply inserted into the crevice. She was already wailing to the heavens, not daring to look any more. It was hard to imagine Sui dying in front of her. Duanmu Xiaoman didn't want to experience that kind of despair a second time. Instantly, everyone's vision darkened, and their faces twitched. Tears of sadness flowed down their cheeks, regardless of their gender or age. It was not because the end of the Sky Barbarians was near, but because Su Yi's death was absolutely heart-wrenching. Was such a prodigy who had sacrificed everything for heaven berserkers destined to never die? The heavens and earth were silent, and the sun and moon were both dim. Time seemed to have stopped at this moment. The experts could already smell the scent of death. Merciless West, Qi Feihong, Duanmu Qingtian, Han Wulong, Yan Mietian, and the others felt their legs go soft as they watched the scene unfold. Immediately after, a large number of experts outside the restriction cried out, roaring like roaring waves of energy rushing out in an attempt to open the restriction. Crack! Crack! Everyone present seemed to have been petrified. They stared blankly at Draconis as he slashed down with his black sword. His lips curled into a cold smile, and the sinister sound of the wild owl could be heard. In the next second, the energy of heaven and earth stirred. Countless amounts of energy of heaven and earth surged in the dim sky palace like boiling water. A storm suddenly formed on the spot, and a golden sound was heard, followed by a black shadow being sent flying backward. What? Everyone present was shocked. They stood up with difficulty, their eyes and mouths agape. The sound of thunder suddenly rang out, and a huge black wave in the sky retreated rapidly. When they saw the face clearly, it turned out to be Draconis, who was shocked. The aura around him seemed to be connected with heaven and earth, and his power retreated rapidly. In the void, Draconis, who was half kneeling, looked in the direction of Sui as if he had seen a ghost. Suddenly, countless gazes were cast at the place where the starlight lingered in the sky. The clouds in the sky dissipated, and a powerful and vast primitive aura slowly surged out from the clouds. Gulp! Many people breathed as if they were walking on thin ice. Their shocked eyes seemed to have stopped trembling. Around them, the onlookers widened their eyes. Could it be that Su-Yi still had a way to reverse the situation? To be able to fight with Draconis to such an extent was already unprecedented. One was already close to the peak of humanity, while the other was constantly breaking through the limits of humanity. Either one of them was enough to dominate the heaven barbarian world. Nervousness and excitement rose one after another. Tens of thousands of gazes shone. Under the starlight, a figure slowly stood up. "Have you fought enough?" It was Su-Yi's voice. Everyone cheered for him. Looking closely, Su-Yi's ancient aura swept through the heavens and earth. A majestic and domineering ancient bell surrounded Su-Yi. Within the ancient bell, Su-Yi was bathed in blood. The scarlet blood made his entire face blurry, and he looked miserable. A gust of wind blew past, lifting a few strands of hair on his forehead. Everyone was so focused that they could only hear Su-Yi's breathing. "You!" Draconis's deep eyes were filled with surprise. His clothes were torn, and the recoil from the previous blow was also great. "Pua!" Spitting out another mouthful of blood, Su-Yi grinned, revealing his white teeth. He slowly raised his head and stared at Draconis. The strongest battle had forced out Su-Yi, the strongest of them all. He had never suffered such serious injuries. The demon god battle dragon armor was shattered, the Yuanyang sky dragon bone was broken, the diamond body was shattered, and even the golden dragon aura was scattered. Such a battle was enough to be called the strongest in Su-Yi's martial arts career. After wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Su-Yi tilted his head and sneered. Anything that couldn't be killed would make him stronger. Circulating the primordial chaos supreme technique at full force, even if the grief destruction heavenly star had reached the peak of the 9th stage of the Yuan domain realm, his understanding and comprehension of the primordial chaos supreme technique had reached the pinnacle. Stretching out his finger, Su-Yi's voice sounded again through the gap in his eyes. "If you don't attack, I will." Suddenly, Draconis became violent and ruthless. The black shadows around him were like a black moon. Millions of black shadows swept across the sky, and the torn space was filled with the terrifying scene of evil spirits wailing. "Ah!" Draconis raised his head, and a mysterious hand seal condensed in front of him. His blood began to surge, and the essence soul pearl that Yun Lingfeng had turned into flew into Draconis's mouth. Bang! The moment the essence soul pearl entered his body, it was as if the end of the world had arrived. The night was dark, and a terrifying power swept across the sky. The sharp screams of evil spirits reaping lives resounded in a radius of tens of thousands of li. At the same time, Draconis's aura rose rapidly, and a vast power that could destroy heaven and earth spread out from his body. The black-patterned golden dragon also shrank at this moment, turning into a wisp of light and returning to Draconis's body. Black lightning filled the sky like a giant python. At this moment, Draconis was invincible, and he had advanced to the Yuan sky stage. Not good, Draconis has overdrawn his life essence to forcefully refine the essence soul pearl. Duanmu Qingtian's face was ashen, and his body trembled. He was very familiar with Draconis's aura. A powerful Yuan sky stage expert could destroy heaven and earth, and move mountains and seas. Chapter 2469. Bam! A murderous aura filled the air as a ball of fire flashed across the sky. It was little handsome Su who was trying to stop Draconis. Bam! Draconis opened his arms and didn't even turn his head when he saw the divine flame descending. A terrifying black glow surged from his body and struck little handsome Su back into his human form. Whoosh whoosh! The red glow drew a long trail of fire in the dark sky before it was extinguished. In the next second, little handsome Su crashed outside the Sky Palace. After an earth-shattering explosion, the chubby little handsome Su was lying in a deep pit of fire, unconscious. The enormous and terrifying impact similarly affected the experts present. The little general's 9th-level origin domain stage impact caused the vital energy and blood of everyone present to roil. As they dodged backward, 2 white lights passed through the spatial crack that Little Handsome opened and entered the Sky Palace. They were none other than Duanmu Xiaoman and Duanmu Qingtian. Boom. Draconis, I want your life. Duanmu Xiaoman's eyes flickered as the power of the Ice Phoenix surged. Extreme sorrow turned into endless energy that surged out. Draconis, you killed Sui. Today, I will sacrifice the blood of the Long family. Duanmu Qingtian roared. Duanmu Qingtian stood behind Xiaoman. At this moment, he had also overdrawn his life essence to activate the omnipotent cosmic art and the divine sky cauldron. In an instant, the divine sky cauldron trembled violently in the air. Rays of light flashed as the remnant souls in the sky whistled and rushed toward Draconis. Bam! Looking at Duanmu Qingtian and Duanmu Xiaoman, Draconis raised his eyes. A black glow appeared in his palm, and the space along the way cracked open. What? Duanmu Xiaoman exclaimed. In less than a few seconds, the remnant soul was swallowed by the darkness and turned into nothingness. Be careful, sister, Duanmu Qingtian shouted. Immediately, the 2 of them used the heaven-commanding divine cauldron as a shield, and the Duanmu Qingtian and Duanmu Xiaoman were sent flying again. The rumbling sound resounded through the world. The sound of the golden spear was like the chanting of death. The ancient curse of the vengeful spirits resounded between heaven and earth. Then, Duanmu Qingtian and Duanmu Xiaoman flew out and crashed onto the ground. Their limbs went limp, and large amounts of bones were shattered. The 2 of them watched in despair as the heaven-controlling divine cauldron streaked past their heads, and then violently smashed into the mountain peak in the distance. The aftershock of the impact caused a huge cloud of dust to rise. The mountains and rivers turned upside down, and the sky seemed to be covered by dark clouds as it sunk down several hundred meters. Under the intimidating pressure, everyone's hearts were torn apart. Sui! Duanmu Xiaoman squinted her eyes, and red blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. Unable to save the situation, she helplessly watched as Draconis blasted towards Sui, and the tears in her eyes had dried up. At this moment, Sui, who was in the center of the attack, had a solemn expression. Actually, he knew that the primordial chaos ancient bell was his only magic weapon. If he could not defeat Draconis even after using all his skills, then it might really be fate. He wanted to fight until the last moment, even if he ran out of ammunition. His whole body was sore and weak. Su Yi's gaze was fixed on the fierce black light that was rushing towards him. The overbearing aura once again swept through the world, and the entire space was trembling. Come on. Su Yi smiled miserably. Looking at his battered body, he murmured, Let's bet on this last round. Hang in there, brother. You've worked hard. Inside the ancient bell, Su Yi's body was dazzling. The mysterious light was like the sun, soaring into the sky. The golden light was shining, and the endless barbaric aura rushed towards the heavens and earth. Demon King, please protect me. I still have a lot of things to do. In the dense light, Su Yi's voice slowly echoed. As soon as the roar came out, Su Yi's body surged with a huge aura once again, and quickly attracted the majestic energy of heaven and earth. The stars behind him flowed, and a huge galaxy appeared across the space. Bang! Suddenly, Su Yi's feet exploded, and he flew towards Draconis. In an instant, the golden bell rang. What's there to be afraid of? Draconis laughed angrily. Upon seeing this, the dragon centipede unleashed a terrifying force from the heavens and earth. The boundless black fog was so dense that it could move mountains and change seas. The terrifying light that blotted out the sky directly swallowed Su Yi's ancient bell. Chi-la! Space crumbled inch by inch. The pitch-black sky collapsed and the earth cracked. The dim sky sank straight down. Su Yi was swallowed. It was completely swallowed up. In the violent ripples of energy, Draconis's body was incomparably huge, and it was as if the black waves were surging crazily. His strange and ear-piercing laughter resounded through the heavens and earth. Go to hell. Sui, you ant, want to stop me? Ah! The black clouds covered the heavens and earth, and Draconis's face could no longer be seen clearly. The soul-stirring laughter filled every corner of the Heaven Palace. At this moment, countless people's hearts turned cold, and they all sat on the ground, their eyes blank. It's over. It's really over. Yen Mietian spat out a mouthful of blood and sighed heavily. Because of fear, his body began to twitch uncontrollably. The king of geniuses. The heavens are jealous of geniuses. Why? After a long while, the millions of martial artists who came to their senses looked at the black clouds and finally understood one thing. The king of geniuses had fallen in the end. Instantly, the mournful and heart-wrenching cries shook the heavens and earth. The boiling sound waves turned into a resistance force that resisted Draconis's laughter. The Heaven Barbarians had fallen in the end. But when would the Heaven Barbarians have another young hero like him? Sighs, regrets, and mournful cries resounded through the air. The millions of people present all had tears in their eyes, unable to believe the reality in front of them. Chi-La. Above their heads, the black clouds expanded rapidly, spreading to the top of everyone's heads at a speed visible to the naked eye. Then, a crisp sound exploded. The space restrictions opened up, and millions of martial artists rushed in, their battle intent soaring to the heavens as they fiercely charged into the Heaven Palace. Sui, i.e., Palace Master, Fourth Brother, Merciless West, Qi Feihong, Su Jingyuan, and the Chaos Region, demon-subduing sect, a large number of martial artists, and hundreds of super-experts gathered together. Looking at the lonely gray sky, all of their faces were gloomy. There was no business. Today the Heaven Barbarians died. At this moment, Duanmu Xiaoman and Duanmu Qintian had already been helped up by the crowd. Blood flowed from their mouths, and they looked extremely miserable. Palace Master, how are you? How are you? Guiue's eyes were wet as he treated Duanmu Xiaoman's injuries. Seeing the vital energy flowing in and out again, Guiue's heart skipped a beat. How could Duanmu Xiaoman still have the will to live? Looking straight at Duanmu Xiaoman, Guiue could not stop crying. Following Duanmu Xiaoman's dazed eyes, he looked towards the horizon. The void was dark and the seductive cries of ghosts filled the world. Endless black clouds roamed in the sky. In the middle of the void, a terrifying dark cloud that could swallow everything in the world gradually formed a human figure. Within the black light, Draconis's figure was inexplicably terrifying. A strange energy suddenly appeared in the void, as if they had fallen into the abyss of the netherworld. Chapter 2470. Whoosh! In the raging storm, Draconis's black eyes shone with a demonic light. His gloomy voice reverberated throughout the area. Ants, will you submit to me? Everyone looked at each other. Draconis had become the ruler of Sky Barbarian tribe. His destructive power was enough to kill any expert. Did they really have to submit to him? Submit my ass. Draconis, if you want to rule Sky Barbarian tribe, you have to get my permission first. Yen Mietian was the first to stand out. His body was covered in flames and his eyes were filled with killing intent. Me too. Everyone in the Chaos region is not convinced. Kill them all if you can. Roar. All the beasts were enraged. The Green Emperor, the Yin-Yang two Nether Kings, and the other supreme beasts were covered in blood. Their scales were opened and their fierce eyes were filled with hatred. A green light flashed, bringing with it a faint golden dragon aura that filled the sky. The Green Emperor's true form was a soaring snake that stretched across the sky. With a dark and violent snake roar, he roared angrily. Give me back my master! Draconis! Give me back my master! Roar! All the great demons and barbaric demonic beasts present roared continuously. The sound waves shook the clouds, and the earth-shattering cries for their lives made everyone feel a sense of respect for them. Compared to the martial artists, these beasts were closer to Sui. If the beasts were like this, how could the humans be like this? Give me back my emperor! If you don't submit to the Long family, kill them all if you can. Draconis, you killed my son-in-law. I'll settle the score with you today. Draconis, the Myriad Sword Alliance will not let you go even if we become ghosts in our next life. Draconis, I won't help you today. If you want to kill us, just kill us. Why are you talking so much nonsense? The 4 aristocratic families, the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 ocean were shouting. They were not afraid of death at all. Sui could not die in vain. Even if they had to submit, they could not submit alive. Ah! Draconis, come on. Kill them all and be the king of your wandering souls. Long Pashan looked up to the sky and laughed heartily. He and Yen Mietian stood side by side, laughing heartily and sorrowfully. A just cause enjoys abundant support, while an unjust cause finds little support. Draconis, you didn't expect this, did you? Your Long family doesn't have many people left. Kill. Kill everyone from the sky barbarian realm. Yen Mietian's lips curled into a mocking smile. Boom. Within the black clouds, Draconis's figure was trembling non-stop. His gaze sank as he looked at these unyielding people. His heart was filled with rage. The gloomy roar was like an impermanence attack, and the destructive pressure once again spread in the air. Long Qing pushed his hands out and roared madly. Die. Since that's the case, all of you can go to hell. An astonishing power once again enveloped everyone's heads. Looking up at the terrifying power that was like a meteor crashing into Earth, everyone's faces were filled with the determination to die. In the face of Draconis's anger, no matter how strong they were not afraid at all. If Sui could die heroically, why couldn't they die heroically? Opening his chest, he sang loudly in the wind. The unique rhythm of the sky barbarian realm resounded in the dark storm like sparks falling from the sky. Look, Draconis! Yen Mietian was the first to notice the abnormality again. His gaze was fixed on Draconis as the black clouds began to transform crazily. Draconis's figure was like a rubber ball, shrinking and expanding at times. At the same time, Draconis seemed to be suffering a great deal of pain as well. His ferocious head kept shaking in the air, and the figure in the black clouds began to expand continuously. Finally, it turned into a wisp of black smoke and exploded in the sky. Boom! Blood chi billowed and an earth-shattering explosion sounded. Black wind swept across the sky, and countless black demonic chi howled miserably and fled in all directions. The sudden explosion stunned everyone present. Their mouths were about to fall to the ground. Countless pairs of stunned eyes fell on the void. At this time, the black clouds that filled the sky gradually faded away following Draconis's explosion. When the golden light penetrated the heavy dark clouds and shone into the sky, the entire Brahma Dragon celestial palace was bathed in divine light. The holy light scattered to the world, and the sky and earth were clear. In the illusory and dreamy golden light, everyone was intoxicated, as if they had fallen into the clouds. At this moment, only a ball of black fog was left in the middle of the void. The black fog dispersed, and the mysterious starlight shot thousands of miles away. The mystical ancient bell stood proudly in the sky. That is, Duanmu Qingtian was the first to speak. He excitedly supported the severely injured Duanmu Xiaoman. Looking at the dazzling primordial chaos ancient bell in the sky, Duanmu Xiaoman immediately burst into tears. After great sorrow, there will be great joy. Everyone present felt as if they were sitting on a roller coaster. When they saw the faint figure walking out of the dense divine light, everyone was stunned. Sui! It's Sui! Sui is not dead. Su-Yi is not dead. Heavens! He walked out of Draconis's body. Draconis exploded, and Su-Yi has been reborn. Countless fiery gazes fell on the thin figure in the sky, and the atmosphere in the celestial palace was raised to an unparalleled peak. It was really Su-Yi. When Su-Yi stood in the sky in front of everyone saw clearly that it was Su-Yi. The young hero who cherished the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 sea, the king of geniuses had returned. In an instant tears and cheers surged into the sky. Countless cultivators and demon beasts were moved to tears. As Su-Yi slowly landed on the ground, everyone could feel the drastic change in Su-Yi's temperament. At this moment, Su-Yi had already burned all of the Emperor Sparrow's blood essence, and he could no longer use any martial techniques that could be improved. However, Su-Yi's cultivation had stabilized at the peak of the 9th level of the Origin Domain realm. His deep eyes seemed even more profound, and the faint outline of his brows added a hint of evil. Enveloped by divine light, Su-Yi slowly walked towards the crowd. With every step he took, the ground trembled. The violent pressure from his body revealed a hint of evil and tyrannical. It was actually somewhat similar to Draconis from before. His robes fluttered in the wind. Su-Yi was like a fiend god descending to the world, and endless divine might spread out from his body. Chi. They decisively opened up a path for Su-Yi. Everyone looked up at Su-Yi as if they were looking at a god, and they didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Walking to Duanmu Xiaoman's side, Su-Yi's brows raised, and he gently hugged Duanmu Xiaoman tightly in his arms. Xiaoman. Just these 2 words instantly melted Duanmu Xiaoman's cold and withered heart, like the spring wind and rain. Instantly, Duanmu Xiaoman's tightly pursed lips trembled, and sparkling tears flowed down once again. Duanmu Xiaoman herself didn't know how many tears she had cried for this man. Gently hugging Duanmu Xiaoman, Su-Yi's unswerving face was filled with guilt. He sighed and said, "Back then, I announced to the Sky Barbarian that Lu Ruashi was my wife. Today, I will also announce to the Sky Barbarian that Duanmu Xiaoman is my wife. She will be my wife in this lifetime and the next lifetime." Su-Yi. Duanmu Xiaoman moaned, and then the 2 of them hugged each other tightly. Chapter 2471. Sister. Duanmu Qintian, who was coughing heavily, was overwhelmed with emotions. His weak face was filled with a happy smile. At this moment, Ling Qianxue, Han Yuro, Shangguan Shiwei, Mu Yao, and Shi Susu also walked out from the crowd and looked at Su-Yi quietly. Su-Yi and Duanmu Xiaoman were too difficult. The battle for Longjin this time was full of twists and turns. Moreover, Duanmu Xiaoman's life was too bitter. It was so bitter that it made everyone's heart ache. Now, Duanmu Xiaoman could snuggle in the arms of her beloved as she wished. How could they still have the slightest bit of jealousy? The 2 of them stood in the middle of the crowd. Under the light, Su-Yi was handsome and Duanmu Xiaoman was devastatingly beautiful. They were definitely a perfect couple. Today, Su-Yi had established immortality. No one dared to say that Su-Yi was protected by Duanmu Xiaoman. Looking at the couple, the martial artists present nodded excitedly. Many female martial artists covered their faces and cried, "This is too touching. The King of Heaven's pride is so handsome. The goddess is so happy. I also want to marry such a perfect man. He's so charming. Damn it, why do I feel like crying? This is too touching." Immediately, the onlookers started crying. Many young male martial artists looked at Su-Yi with reverence. The experts of Yutian Palace, Chaos Region, and demon-subduing sect surrounded Su-Yi. Their eyes flickered as they held back their tears. They were extremely moved. Yun Zhongli looked at the godlike young man and nodded. His old eyes were filled with tears. He said softly, "Jing-er, my Jing-er can be saved." Su-Yi's next step was to leave Sky Barbarian Realm. Combined with what Su Yi had said about the immemorial disaster, Yun Zhongli was certain that Wen Fu and Yun Jing's disappearance was not as simple as it seemed. There might be an even bigger secret behind it. Turning his head, Yun Zhongli let out a long sigh. He hugged Su Jingyuan and wept. His voice trembled as he said, "Jingyuan, you have a good son." Su Jingyuan's expression changed. His son had practically used his own strength to save heaven berserkers. What kind of immortal achievement was this? Su Jingyuan's body trembled uncontrollably. His chin trembled as he looked at his son. He was equally agitated. "This is my son, a son who will be famous for thousands of years and bring glory to the Su family for thousands of years. Wen Fu, did you see that? This is our son. Is our pride." Thinking of his wife, Wen Fu, Su Jingyuan's emotions were even more complicated. Tears streamed down his face. The bustling Brahma Dragon's celestial palace was filled with emotions and excitement. The hubbub of voices was like a cauldron of cauldrons, and the clamor of celebration reached the 9 heavens. Everyone who was related to Su Yi felt as if they were in heaven. They were so emotional that tears streamed down their faces. Standing behind them, the people from Tian Yao School were even more proud. After today, the Tian Yao School would officially appear in Heaven Berserkers. This time, Su Yi had righted the name of Heaven Demons. What Draconis said about demons becoming demons was all bullshit. "Grandma, village chief, our spirit ancient village no longer needs to hide." Hu Qi, Xiongzhan, Shangguan Su, and the others knelt on the ground and kowtowed heavily in the direction of spirit ancient village. All of their hatred, resentment had disappeared because of Draconis's explosion. Countless disputes with the Long family had also disappeared with the wind. No one was in the mood to find out how Su Yi came out. They only knew that Su Yi had defeated Draconis. From today onwards, Heaven Berserkers would return to normal. The Long family had completely disappeared from Heaven Berserkers' continent. "Wait, where are you going? There's a debt that hasn't been settled yet." At that moment, an angry roar came from behind the crowd. Everyone looked in the direction of the roar and saw Yan Mietian and Duguhen standing in front of Yi Yi and Ing Wuxiu. The embarrassed Yi Yi and Ing Wuxiu stood awkwardly in the corner of the crowd. The people of Sky Sea City also shrank back. Since the crisis has been resolved, Sea City is guilty. It's time to return to the city. Ing Wuxiu looked at Duguhen and Yan Mietian. He knew that he was in the wrong, so he gradually lowered his voice. Then, Ing Wuxiu turned to look at Lan Zhilian. Lan Zhilian did not say a word. Things had developed to this point, and it was no longer something she could control. Tap tap. A terrifying gust of wind blew over as Su Yi slowly walked out from the center of the crowd. He stared at Yi Yi with a cold and gloomy gaze as the corners of his mouth lifted into a faint smile. "Su Yi!" Lan Zhilian cried out. Unknowingly, Jun Haotian had walked behind Lan Zhilian and held her hand tightly. Facing Su Yi's gaze, Yi Yi's domineering expression had been replaced by fear. The current Su Yi could kill Yi Yi with just a wave of his hand. Suddenly, Ing Wuxiu stood in front of Yi Yi and said in a low voice, "Su Yi, are you really going to kill us all? What do you think?" Su Yi crossed his arms and asked faintly. Soon after, voices of reprimanding Tianlan Sea City echoed in the surroundings. Compared to the myriad sword alliance, Tianlan Sea City was still stubborn until the very end. They had only changed their course when they saw that the situation was hopeless. It was not surprising that such a slick fence-sitter like them would be criticized by all the experts. On the contrary, although the Myriad Sword Alliance had made a huge mistake, they had saved Su Yi and played an important role in slaying the dragon. Compared to Sky Sea City, the Myriad Sword Alliance had redeemed themselves even if they couldn't make up for their mistakes. Hearing this, Ing Wuxiu turned to look at Yi Yi and sighed faintly. He lifted his robe and half knelt in front of Su Yi. "Uncle Wuxiu, Sui frowned and took half a step forward. He immediately stopped. Sui, the Lord of Heaven's current state is largely due to my lack of control. I beg you to use my name in exchange for your life. As soon as he spoke, the Heaven Monarch, Lan Yelyan, and all the Sky Sea City experts behind him were shocked. Elder Ing. Lan Zhilian's tears flowed like a fountain as she pursed her red lips. Yi, who was standing behind her, was also at a loss. Tears streamed down her face as she looked at the old Ing Wuxiu and muttered, I will take responsibility for my own actions. Why do you have to do this? Suddenly, Lan Zhilian broke free from Jun Haotian's hand and looked at Sui. Sui, I'm willing to atone for my master's sins. Isn't it enough to exchange 2 lives for 1? Hearing Lan Zhilian's words, Jun Haotian's expression changed drastically. He lowered his voice and said anxiously, Sui. Jun Haotian seemed to be pleading for the Lord of Heaven. Immediately, everyone's attention was on Sui. Sui slowly raised his eyebrows. After going through a life-and-death situation, Suyi's state of mind had instantly reached a clean and spotless state. After carefully sweeping his gaze over the people of Sky Wave Sea City, the fiery vortex under Suyi's feet wrinkled. Sui! Lan Zhilian and Ing Wuxiu shouted at the same time. In everyone's eyes, Suyi's speed was unbelievably fast. A stream of light flashed past and a dazzling palm energy landed heavily on the Lord of Heaven's body. Pft! When everyone regained their senses, the Lord of Heaven was already standing on the same spot. The aura around him had dissipated and his cultivation had dropped to the first stage of Yuan Domain Realm. Chapter 2472. Yi observed her entire body. Surprisingly, there was not a single wound on her body. She looked at Sui again. He was already holding Duanmu Xiaoman's hand and standing 1,000 meters away, walking towards the spatial rift. Sky Sea City will no longer be an aristocratic family. Yi will hand over the position of Heavenly Lord and Lan Yelyan will inherit it. After 50 years, we can return to the ranks of aristocratic families. Lingbao Pavilion will announce to the world that we will do our best to help Sky Barbarian recover. We will also add 2 new aristocratic families, the Holy Mountain and the Bawang sect. Su Yi's voice trailed off. By the time his voice had spread to the entire area, Su Yi had already walked far away. Not only Sky Sea City, but all the sects present bowed respectfully in the direction of Su Yi. With just a few words, Su Yi gave Sky Sea City a chance to be reborn. Not only did he spare Yi from death, but he also allowed Sky Sea City to change the world's impression of them under Lan Yelyan's leadership in 50 years. The King of Geniuses repays evil with good. From now on we will obey. The King of Geniuses repays evil with good. From now on we will obey. The King of Geniuses repays evil with good. From now on we will obey. Loud cheers poured into the center of the Sky Palace. Countless people's jubilation turned the Sky Palace into a sea of joy. Yi stood in the crowd like a puppet. Ing Wuxiu, Lan Yelyan, and the other 2 came forward and hugged each other. Sui. No, thank you for sparing my life. Ing Wuxiu cried and hugged Yi tightly. Yi finally gave up on her previous perseverance. Under everyone's gaze, she cried like a pear blossom in the rain. It was very touching. At this point, the war was over. Sky Barbarian was about to open a new page under the rule of the King of Geniuses. The Bawang sect naturally became the leader of the aristocratic families. Countless people wanted to become Bawang sect's disciples. The chaos region of the past was no longer the same as before. The Bawang sect had completely become the new holy land of martial arts for heaven berserkers. Needless to say, the Yun family still had a deep foundation. Because the Thunder Flame Temple had a close relationship with the Heaven's Pride King, and because of the fire-suppressing Heaven Stone, the elders in the temple competed to pass down this experience as a legend, and were incomparably proud. In the myriad sword alliance, Situ Muyang and his grandfather had reconciled. Dugurhen had completely retired and passed the position of alliance leader to Situ Muyang. Xinjiang Gate had also submitted to him. Now, Situ Muyang was the strongest martial artist in the Sky Barbarian realm under the age of 20. As for the Holy Mountain, under the leadership of the new Holy Emperor, Snow Red House, the Holy Mountain had reached a new height. With the complete Holy Monarch's aura, the Holy Mountain's scale was increasing at an unimaginable speed. After the Heavenly Palace, the Bawang sect had also completely improved the Heavenly Palace battleship, turning it into a super teleportation device that connected the Heavenly Palace and the Chaos region. The Brahma Dragon Celestial Palace had completely become a part of history. Su Yi first brought Duanmu Xiaoman back to the Heavenly Palace. Under Su Yi's meticulous treatment, Duanmu Xiaoman's injuries were getting better day by day. 3 months passed by. During this time, Su Yi had not only healed his own injuries, he had also healed Qi Nu and Shangguan Tianqin's injuries. On this day, Su Yi was reminiscing with Su Yuntian and Su Jingyuan in the Su family's courtyard. Lu Ruoxi, who had not shown herself all this time, walked out with a round belly. Su Yuntian and Su Jingyuan hurriedly got up from their seats, their faces filled with anxiety. Su Yi also had a smile on his face as he said seriously, "Look at you, you're still running around when you're pregnant." "That's right, Ruoxi, you should be more careful." Granddaughter-in-law, you have to be careful. I'm still waiting to hold my great-grandson." Lu Ruoxi said gently, "Grandpa Eunuch, don't listen to Su Yi. We're martial artists, so how can we have so many things to do?" Su Yi shook his head helplessly. Duanmu Qingtian's voice came from behind him. "Su Yi, my sister is calling for you. What's wrong with Xiaoman?" Su Yi turned around and asked. Duanmu Qingtian raised his eyebrows as his gaze fell on Lu Ruoxi. He said with a smile, "Ruoxi is pregnant, so my sister can't fall behind." "What?" Everyone was shocked, and their faces were filled with ecstasy. Su Yuntian and Su Jingyuan were grinning from ear to ear. "What are you waiting for? Go." "Su Yi." Lu Ruoxi reminded Su Yi with a smile. At this moment, Su Yi came back to his senses. He raised his eyebrows and immediately went to Duanmu Qingtian's room with Duanmu Xiaoman. Like a ball of fire, Su Yi quickly arrived beside Duanmu Xiaoman's bed. Beside the bed, Ling Qianxue was accompanying Duanmu Xiaoman. When she saw Su Yi rushing over, Duanmu Xiaoman was incomparably shy. She cried out, "Ah Yi!" Su Yi approached and quickly supported Duanmu Xiaoman gently, indicating that she should not get up. Looking at Duanmu Xiaoman's blushing face, Su Yi was naturally overjoyed. After the long family, Su Yi had one joyous event after another. Lu Ruoxi and Duanmu Xiaoman were pregnant one after another. How could Su Yi not be happy? "Thank you for your hard work, Xiaoman." Su Yi smiled slightly. "You haven't given birth yet. What's the trouble, silly boy?" Duanmu Xiaoman pursed her lips and turned her head away. "Ah!" Su Yi's simple and honest laughter immediately resounded in the room. Joyous events happened one after another, causing Su Yi to feel a little dizzy. "Have you thought about what to name your 2 sisters' children?" Ling Qianxue gently placed her hand on Su Yi's body. Her amber eyes were filled with warmth. "Names?" Su Yi lightly tapped his chin and said softly, "I still don't know if it will be a Lin or a daughter. It would be best if they are both daughters. It would be good if they were as outstanding as their mother." Immediately after, Su Yi recalled every detail of himself, Lu Ruoxi and Duanmu Xiaoman. He said softly, "With Ruoxi's daughter, she will be called Su Shiro. She will be gentle and quiet like a stream. With Xiaoman's daughter, she will be called Su Manqing. She will be beautiful and lovely like Xianqing." Su Manqing. Duanmu Xiaoman's eyes lit up. She secretly nodded her head and firmly remembered this name. You little brat, you have chosen a very good name. I don't care. There has to be a little nephew. As his uncle, I have to teach him personally. Duanmu Qingtian raised his chin and revealed a proud look. Immediately, the three of them laughed at the same time. Whether it was a Lin or a daughter, their parents were all top figures in the heaven barbarian world. With mighty Crane's guidance, wouldn't they be monsters from a young age? Ha ha ha! In the room there was laughter. Immediately after, Su Yi instructed Xiaoman to take good care of herself. He and Duanmu Qingtian retreated. Sitting on the front steps of the heaven-commanding divine palace, Su Yi's face was still filled with a happy smile. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. I want to hear Shiro and Manqin call me father soon. Hearing this, Duanmu Qingtian raised his eyebrows and said softly, There's still a long way to go. How can you not see it? Shaking his head, Su Yi's eyes instantly dimmed. He said seriously, Only when I become a father will I have more courage. At this moment, I have to quickly solve the immemorial calamity, and let Shiro and Manqin grow up safely. Chapter 2473. Hearing this, Duanmu Qingtian was silent. Su Yi had already made up his mind and naturally did not stop him. When do we leave? Duanmu Qingtian asked faintly. Tonight, so you have to help me. Su Yi turned his head, his abyss-like eyes calm. In 3 months, Su Yi had already recovered from his injuries and the Sky Barbarian realm had also resumed its operation. Laziness would breed in the hotbed of happiness. Su Yi knew that time waited for no one. Duanmu Qingtian nodded and told Su Yi that he had to make preparations to leave the Sky Barbarian realm with the help of the 10 Jade Building. With the domain pearl in hand, Su Yi could summon the 10 Jade Building anytime and anywhere without being restricted by the rules of the Sky Barbarian realm. Therefore, the two of them agreed to summon the 10 Jade Building at Broken Sword Lake at night and leave the Sky Barbarian realm. By the way, has Draconis's demon injury completely healed? Su Yi looked at Duanmu Qingtian, who was standing up. He has long recovered. Speaking of this, others do not dare to ask, but I want to know, how did you get out? What's with the demon qi in your body? Suddenly, Su Yi narrowed his eyes and recalled the scene in Draconis's heart. He told Duanmu Qingtian. There was originally an iron soulfish in his body. Draconis cultivated the demon race's taboo, which caused the Sky Barbarian demon qi to be thin. When it was in Draconis's body, the iron soulfish abandoned everything and gave the last bit of its demon soul to Su Yi. In the end, Su Yi merged with the demon qi, broke free from Draconis's control and broke out of the body. Hearing this, Duanmu Qingtian's eyes lit up. He walked forward and channeled his primordial qi into Su Yi's body. Peeking into Su Yi's divine spiritual veins, he found that he had already opened 39 profound entrances. The divine spiritual veins running through his body were half black and half silver-white, looking quite mysterious. Duanmu Qingtian sucked in a breath of cold air as he withdrew his palm. He said softly, God and demon in one body. You really are the Chaos Demonic Emperor. Opening his eyes, Su Yi frowned and asked seriously, Is this related to the Chaos Demon Emperor? In the realm of the gods, the Chaos Demonic Emperor is an existence that no one dares to mess with. Not only is he highly respected by both the human realm and the demonic realm, but he is also very close to the demonic realm. Instantly Su Yi was shocked. Duanmu Qingtian said, It is said that the second Archean tribulation is closely related to the Chaos Demon Emperor. Although this is a taboo topic in the outer realm, you should know that the star domain is the most well-informed place. What else? Su Yi asked. Duanmu Qingtian shrugged and said softly, If you don't know about it, who else would know? Duanmu Qingtian's figure flashed and said faintly, You will have to find out the rest of the way yourself. Looking at the figure that was getting smaller and smaller, Su Yi stared at the ants that were moving food in groups. His eyes suddenly flashed with a trace of starlight. Even ants can defy the heavens and change their fate, let alone me, a demon emperor. After bidding farewell to Duanmu Xiaoman and Lu Ruoxi, under the tearful gazes of the two, Su Yi stepped on the road to the outside of the star field. At night, the night breeze blew gently. Su Yi stood in front of the 10 jade pavilion with a solemn expression. At this moment, handsome Su also rushed over. Su Yi deliberately did not ask anyone to see him off, as he was afraid that there would be people who would miss him. Looking at handsome Su, Su Yi was a little hesitant. The primordial calamity was not a joke. Boss, I sense the aura of the heavenly sparrow in the outer realm. I will go with you. Handsome Su's chubby little face was sullen. After walking one round outside, handsome Su had become more mature. Hearing this, Su Yi nodded. With a determined gaze, he looked at Duanmu Qingtian in the distance and said, Master, the heavenly barbarian race will depend on you from now on. As soon as his voice fell, wind and thunder rumbled, and the fierce power of space set off countless spatial ripples. Duanmu Qingtian squinted his eyes and tossed out a ray of light from his bosom, which he immediately stuffed into Su Yi's hand. Boy, this divine cauldron was originally a relic of the heavenly star divine palace. After entering the realm of the gods, remember to return it to its rightful owner. It is also the imperial palace's contribution. Su Yi tightly grasped the space bag containing the imperial cauldron, took a deep breath, turned around, and flew into the 10 jade pavilion with handsome Su. Boom! Space rumbled, and endless waves stirred up huge waves on Broken Sword Lake. In the dark sky, mysterious patterns of light swept across heaven and earth, and the huge 10 jade pavilion gradually disappeared in the void. Compared to the first time they crossed realms, Su Yi and handsome Su were both at the peak of the 9th stage of the origin domain realm. Although they had not yet reached the heavenly barbarian realm, one was a chaos demon emperor, and the other was an ancient divine beast. The realm storm did not cause much damage to them. In the realm storm, the two of them sat cross-legged and began to regulate their breathing. Time passed, and when Su Yi opened his eyes, the two of them were already in a light purple mountain forest. The surrounding trees towered into the sky, and strange branches and leaves fell around them. The mountain landscape was completely different from the heavenly barbarian race. Looking around, the origin chi in the space before them was much denser than the heavenly barbarian race. Light purple divine chains intertwined in the sky, and the sword-shaped clouds were incomparably sharp. Boss, which star region are we in? At this moment, Su Yi, who was beside handsome Su, slowly walked over. Su Yi pursed his lips. At this moment, there were hundreds of figures flying in the sky on their swords. Every one of them had the aura of a half-step into the heavenly barbarian race. The two of them were shocked. No wonder people said that the heavenly barbarian race's martial arts foundation was too weak. They did not expect that anyone in this star region would be at the half-step into the heavenly barbarian race. They seemed to be looking for something, handsome Su said in a serious tone. Su Yi did not comment. He gave handsome Su a look and immediately said, "Let's go out first." The two of them walked out of the mountain forest with light footstep. They wanted to find someone to ask which star region they were in. Boom! In just a short while, an earth-shattering sonic boom rang out from the northern slope. Looking up, the sky in the north surged with fierce sword waves. The sword waves rushed to the 9 heavens, and instantly pushed away thousands of layers of clouds. The sonorous Yuan Qi explosion shocked Su Yi and handsome Su at the same time. Could there be a battle happening here? Let's go and take a look, Su Yi exclaimed. When one was under someone else's roof, one had to lower one's head. In this world where everyone was stronger than him, Su Yi naturally knew that he had to keep a low profile. Immediately, the two of them withdrew their Yuan Qi and turned into 2 streaks of light, flying to the northern slope. After quietly finding a place to hide, Su Yi discovered that the hundreds of people in the sky were fighting. The strongest aura was at the half-step into the fourth stage of the heavenly barbarian race. Staring at the battle, Sui swallowed his saliva and could not help but break out in cold sweat. He secretly stared at the cultivators in the sky. "What do you want?" At this moment, a handsome young man raised his sword in front of him and the corner of his mouth sank. Judging from his aura, his cultivation should be slightly weaker than Suyi's. He was at the 9th stage of the origin domain realm, but not at the peak. Chapter 2474. Feng Yu, won't your father be courteous when he sees us seniors from other star fields? With a gloomy expression, the leader of the group stared at the cave behind the young man and girl and laughed evilly. Hearing this, the young man called Feng Yun raised his eyebrows. His sword glinted coldly. Feng Yun gritted his teeth and moved his palm lightly. Violent waves of energy rose up and instantly formed a wall of swords in front of him. Boom! The sword energy was invisible. It suddenly tore the space in front of him apart, revealing an extremely domineering aura. Clang! Beside him, the girl was not to be outdone. Although she was seriously injured, she still stood behind the young man. Her eyes were filled with killing intent as she looked around. What a powerful sword intent! In the dark, Sui could not help but praise the young man when he saw how sharp his sword was. After experiencing the battle with Draconis and many life and death experiences, Suyi's heaven-grade sword intent had reached perfection. The young man in front of him was 1 or 2 years younger than him, but the display of sword intent had clearly reached a profound level where the sword was released from the heart and stopped at the will of the heart. In a flash, Duanmu Qingtian's words echoed in Suyi's mind. With such a young man's sword intent, perhaps he had arrived at the Sword King star field that he had mentioned. It was said that every cultivator in the Sword King star field was a soul master with an extremely powerful sword intent. Instantly, Suyi's eyes lit up. He retracted his aura even more. The young man said, "It's good that you know me. This is the territory of the Sword King star field. How dare you try to snatch people here?" Hundreds of people looked at Feng Yun with cunning and greedy eyes. Their laughter became even more arrogant and cold. The leading cultivator also had a powerful aura. The power of space instantly spread out and clashed with the sword curtain, creating a series of metallic clangs. Sparks flew, and the light illuminated the leader's face. A cold voice sounded. "You have become the enemy of all star fields by hiding the clues that the Judgment Court wants. Not to mention that we haven't even reached the Great Sword King City yet, even if we kill you in front of your father, the Domain Lord. Does Feng Kuang dare to say no?" As the last word fell, the leader's eyes fell completely. A mysterious light surged on his hand, and boundless killing intent turned into a huge pressure that shot out. Chi La. Feng Yun, who was standing in front of him, could not help but take 2 steps back as blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. His eyes were filled with terror. "Brat Scram! How dare you snatch what the adjudicator wants? He doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. If you say another word, I'll skin you alive and drag your sister to the Azure Flower Starfield as a servant." Immediately, the expressions of the 2 youths changed drastically, and their auras fluctuated wildly. Feng Yun turned around and glanced at the cave behind him. He looked at his sister Feng Yu in a low voice and said coldly, "Father taught us that a promise is greater than the heavens. Little sister, don't be afraid, Father will avenge us." Feng Yu held the long sword in her hand. She cleared her throat and a pearl light flashed in her eyes. She nodded heavily, and death intent filled the air. "That's not up to you. Snatch him," the leader shouted. In an instant, an earth-shattering light fluctuated, and killing intent filled the world. Huge spatial ripples spread out like waves in the air. "Go to hell." The leader's broadsword fell, and a sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. A fiery light shot out from the top of the mountain forest. The person in the mysterious light floated down with his hands behind his back. His robes fluttered in the wind, and his indifferent eyebrows were as deep as the distant mountains. He had descended into the world with a powerful aura. Who is it? The blade that was suspended in midair suddenly stopped. The hundreds of people did not know what was going on and hurriedly retreated. Walala! Blazing heat filled the air. When the light around him disappeared, everyone could see clearly that the newcomer was actually a young man in his early 20s. Beside him was an extremely ordinary-looking little fatty. "Boss, they're inside." Su Xiaoshui sniffled, as if he did not take the experts in front of him seriously at all. Hearing this, Su Yi nodded. He looked around and his eyes darkened. At this moment, countless exclamation marks had already flashed through Su Yi's mind. These hundreds of half-step Yuan Tian experts surrounded him. It was really a spectacular sight. Immediately, a trace of regret emerged in his heart, but Su Yi could not show it. Turning around, Su Yi's face was solemn, and an unfathomable light surged out of his eyes. He said faintly, "Hide behind me." Feng Yun and Feng Yu looked at each other when they saw the strange young man who suddenly appeared. They did not know who this person was. Judging from his aura, the two people in front of them were not much stronger than them. Feng Yun and Feng Yu were a little dumbfounded. However, since someone had come to save them, they still stood behind obediently. Killing intent condensed on their small faces, and they were not afraid at all. At this moment, the other party saw Su Yi's cultivation level, and they all laughed with ridicule in their eyes. The leader laughed wildly, and then his face darkened. He said angrily, "Where did this idiot come from? I'll teach him a lesson today. Hey, my space-shattering blade." Smiling coldly, handsome Su shook his head and slowly walked out. His calm demeanor made people feel a little afraid. Staring at the hundreds of people, handsome Su lowered his voice and asked with a serious face, "Boss, how do you plan to attack?" On the side, Sui did not say a word. His aura surged, and the Sorrow Star technique was activated. A powerful half-step Yuan Tian aura enveloped his body. Golden light shone, and the dragon's roar shook the sky. The domineering dragon's roar instantly shocked everyone. "Are you afraid?" Seeing that Su Yi had started to prepare, a cold expression flashed across handsome Su's chubby face. "This is..." everyone exclaimed. The golden dragon soared into the sky, and the boiling golden dragon turned into a pillar of light that shot into the sky. A crisp sound echoed in the sky. "Golden dragon's sky-piercing finger!" Roar. Suddenly, the dragon's figure flashed in the sky, and a large area in front of it collapsed. A vast light exploded in the air, and Su Yi's voice suddenly drifted far away. "Little Handsome, run!" Only then did handsome Su react. His face was blank and he was instantly furious. It turned out that Su Yi had used the golden dragon's sky-piercing finger to escape with Feng Yun and Feng Yu. "Boss, you're too disloyal." The space quickly healed, and handsome Su was not used to the different space rules of the sky barbarians. Suddenly, light appeared under his feet, and he rushed into the cave while the golden dragon's aura was still there. Seeing that the two of them were running like rabbits, the hundreds of strong cultivators roared, and hundreds of powerful energy burst out and instantly rushed up. 1. At the entrance of the cave, a strange ancient bell blocked everyone's path like a boulder. A mysterious light shot out of it, and vast energy was terrifying. After entering the cave, Su Yi and handsome Su led Feng Yun and Feng Yu to search. Handsome Su seemed to be very familiar with the path inside. Chapter 2475. Following the fork, they continued to descend and crossed a few cliffs. Finally, they arrived at a remote corner of the mountain. "Tian Ke, come out!" Handsome Su shouted loudly. This shout shocked Feng Yun and Feng Yu. Not long after they finished speaking, two figures walked out of the cave. One of them was a man with a haggard face, sunken eyes, sharp eyebrows, and bright eyes. The other one was like a fairy, with white teeth and moon-like eyebrows. Her eyes were bright, and there was a devilish aura in her cold eyes. Without a doubt, only Su Tianke, who was also of the Phoenix bloodline, and Ling Lanin, the cat ancestor, could make handsome Su feel this familiar. Phoenix ancestor. Su Tianke followed the voice and came over. When he saw handsome Su, he was shocked. When he saw Su-yi beside him, he was even more shocked. Su-yi! Su Tianke and Ling Lanin exclaimed at the same time. After so many years, Su-yi was also very excited to finally see an old friend. "Boss, let's not talk anymore. Let's go first," handsome Su said. Rumble! Far away from the cave, the sound of vital chi colliding could be heard. The earth was shaking and the mountains were shaking. It was quite terrifying. Before he could answer Tianke and Ling Lanin's questions, Su-yi nodded and took out the space-cracking jade. He said softly, "I don't know if I can use it here." After using the golden dragon's aura once, Su-yi was afraid that the experts outside would find him through the aura. Therefore, he thought of the space-cracking jade in the Imperial Palace. "Let's try it. Teleport out and use the golden dragon's aura again." Immediately, the few of them stood behind Su-yi and formed mysterious hand seals. They tried twice, but there was no response. In the end, Su-yi activated the Origin Supreme technique. The powerful light rippled and the space-cracking jade shone brightly. Then, the scattered light flew away and the few of them disappeared into the darkness. At this moment, the experts had also arrived. The leader looked around and couldn't find the aura of Su-yi and the others. Bang! The exasperated crowd cursed loudly. Someone behind the leader stepped forward and asked, "Leader, could they have returned to the Great Sword Royal City?" The leader narrowed his eyes and raised his head, wanting to search for the direction Su-yi and the others had fled. "Damn it! Go to Great Sword King's City and capture them." "Yes. These brats and that man and woman can't have gone far. I don't believe that Great Sword Royal City would dare to hide anything." Suddenly, the leader opened his eyes and looked at the crowd, coldly saying, "Which one of you really dares to rush into Big Sword Royal City to capture people?" Everyone fell silent. "Motherf asterisk curs, a bunch of cowards!" the leader shouted angrily. "Then leader, what should we do?" The group of people were extremely unwilling. There were still some who persisted. The leader waved his hand and said softly, "Go back to your own star fields. The people of the lower and middle star fields can't compare to the people of the middle star fields. Let's go. I'm going to report this to the Supreme Court." Hearing this, everyone present had a bitter look on their faces. Not only had they worked for nothing, but reporting the clues to the Supreme Court was also considered a great achievement. This guy actually wanted to take all the credit for himself. "Haven't you heard? Get out of my sight." Instantly, hundreds of people curled their lips, turned into ripples, and left reluctantly. Standing in the cave, the leader looked at the empty field and smiled coldly. "The monk can run away, but the temple can't. I can't afford to offend the Golden Dragon and the Phoenix, but I can't afford to offend the Supreme Court." On the other side, Su-yi and the others who had escaped with the help of the space-cracking jade once again landed on a hillside. Little handsome Su yelled at Su-yi as he lay on his back on the mountainside, breathing in the fresh spiritual chi of heaven and earth. "Boss, use the Golden Dragon technique. Run. Didn't you run really fast just now?" Handsome Su was still angry about what had happened just now. "Phoenix ancestor, don't be angry. I must have something that he can't tell you." Su Diank's breathing was weak. He looked at handsome Su respectfully, but he was still speaking up for Su-yi. Handsome Su also knew that Su-yi would not leave him alone. However, he was still unhappy about being tricked by Su-yi. He suddenly remembered that when he was still a little bird, he was often thrown at the enemy like a cannonball. From another perspective, Wasn't this also the trust between brothers? At this time, Su-yi stood up. Handsome Su turned his head and heard Su-yi say, "Handsome, look." "What?" Handsome Su's chubby head popped out, and he was shocked. Hearing this, Su Tianke and Ling Lanin looked up and saw the magnificent buildings at the bottom of the hill. The continuous sword-shaped eaves were filled with extreme sharpness, as if there was an invincible sword formation on the ground. It was extremely majestic and magnificent. "We've arrived at Great Sword Royal City." Feng Yun was overjoyed. He immediately ran to Su-yi. Everyone's eyes lit up. Great Sword Royal City was the capital of Sword King Starfield. It was also the residence of Great Sword King, the domain master of Sword King Starfield, Feng Kuangyi. Suddenly, they turned into streaks of light and rushed down the mountain. Under Feng Yun and Feng Yu's lead, they entered Great Sword Royal City without any obstructions. After a long time, they finally arrived in front of a magnificent palace. The palace was majestic, and the inverted long swords were piercingly sharp. The sharp energy of heaven and earth in the air seemed to flow in reverse. The huge sword-shaped symbol was eye-catching. Feng Yun and Feng Yu, who were excited to return home, led Su-yi and the others into the palace. At the head of the palace, a middle-aged man was sitting upright. His eyebrows were thick and black, and his temperament was majestic. The cultivation aura around him was even more majestic. The aura of a complete superior was like a surging river, fascinating people. In the air, sword-shaped energy floated in the air. A murderous aura flashed in the air. The picture on the wall behind the man instantly attracted Su-yi's attention. A red light flickered on the wall. A plump sword-shaped fruit picture was struck by heavenly lightning, and it was pulled by several scarlet ribbons. It looked very mysterious. "Father!" Feng Yun and Feng Yu rushed forward and greeted the middle-aged man intimately. The middle-aged man smiled and looked at his children gently and lovingly. He said in a low voice, "I've heard about what happened outside the city. Since you're back, don't go out anymore. I'll take care of the rest." Feng Yun and Feng Yu nodded obediently. They told Feng Kuangyi about the situation in a low voice, and then retreated to the side. Feng Kuangyi frowned. The strength of the Origin Sky realm was terrifying. He stared at Su Tianke, Su-yi, and the others below and said softly, "The clue that Yun and you were talking about should be you too, right?" Feng Kuangyi stared at Su Tianke and Ling Lanin. His majestic aura surged through heaven and earth, and Su Tianke and Ling Lanin's eyes trembled. Although Su Tianke and Ling Lanin were both divine beasts, they had lived in the sky barbarian world for too long. Their cultivation was still lacking compared to the area lord of a medium-sized starfield. Chapter 2476. Su Tianke and Ling Lanin nodded in response to Feng Kuang's intimidating question. "We've never been on good terms with the Adjudicator Institute, but if you can provide us with clues, the Sword King Starfield will protect you," Feng Kuang said. "Protection? Little thing, do you know who you're talking to? Since when did humans have the right to talk to us? Sky Sparrow, don't embarrass me. Let's go." Su Xiaoshui walked out from behind Sky Sparrow. Su-yi also stood in front of Sky Sparrow with a gloomy look in his eyes. "Ancestor, Su-yi," Ling Lanin called out softly. Su-yi had thought that since Feng Yun and Feng Yu had such good characters, their father wouldn't be too bad either. It would be a good idea to use the Sword King Starfield as a base to search for the realm of gods and the whereabouts of his mother and Jing. Since Feng Kuang lived up to his name, Su-yi didn't have to pretend to be nice. He said coldly, "The Sword King Starfield is nothing more than this. Sky Sparrow, let's go." After that, the four of them turned around to leave. "How dare you? Do you think you can come and go as you please in Great Sword Starfield?" Feng Kuang's sword suddenly exploded, and the sky was filled with sword shadows. A shocking explosion resounded in the air, and the spatial sword Qi shot towards Su Yi and Su Xiaoshui. I think you have a death wish, Su Xiaoshui shouted angrily. Then, Su Yi turned around, his face as gloomy as iron. Immediately, the Star of Sorrow was activated, and the fire crystal of Xianling rapidly increased in power. A power that was enough to look down on Yuan Tian stage cultivators spread across the sky. So powerful! Feng Kuang's expression changed drastically as he watched the terrifying power unfold before him. A dark green longsword shot out from his sleeve. Something is wrong. You're so strong at such a young age. Tell me, who are you? You don't have the right to know. Su Yi smiled. Since they had fallen out, he would fight to his heart's content. Suddenly, Su Tianke and Ling Lanin were pulled behind Su Xiaoshui. Su Yi was in front, and Su Xiaoshui was behind him. GG. Su Yi spat out golden-red godly flames from his mouth. He summoned the godly blood devil-killing god sword. Su Yi shouted coldly with a clear cry of a bird. Blood Phoenix sky-splitting slash. Facing Su Yi and Handsome Su's body fusion head-on, Feng Kuang's first sword was shocked. With a deafening sonic boom, all the sword shadows in the sky were destroyed in an instant. Following Feng Kuang's cold shout, the energy in his body burst forth once again. Then, it condensed into a powerful sword light in front of him, wiping out the scorching heat in the air. Chi-la-la! Everything in the main hall was instantly blown apart. In the desolate space, Feng Yun and Feng Yu were shocked and rushed to Feng Kuang's side. Father, what are you doing? They saved me. At this moment, Feng Kuang's first sword stared at Su Yi with shock in his eyes. Seeing this, Su Yi and Handsome Su retracted their primordial qi, and killing intent flashed in their eyes. The huge godly blood devil-slaying sword was held in front of Su Yi, and its aura was shocking. In the cold and murderous atmosphere, Su Yi turned his head and said in a low voice, "Sword King Divine Territory, I will remember it. Let's go." After saying that, Su Yi dragged the godly blood devil-slaying sword with a fierce look in his eyes and turned to leave. Wait. In the desolate main hall, Feng Kuang's first sword's voice resounded in the hall. Su Yi immediately stopped. Young man, there might be some misunderstanding between us. Can you listen to me? The four of them turned around at the same time. Handsome Su glared at him and shouted, "If you are not Feng Yun and Feng Yu's father, I would have taken your life just now. You still want to fight? Today I will massacre Sword King City." Hearing this, Feng Kuang's first sword trembled and his breathing became rapid. He walked toward Su Yi and fixed his eyes on the godly blood devil-slaying sword. Misunderstanding, misunderstanding. Young man, can you show me your sword? Su Yi put away the godly blood devil-slaying sword without hesitation and said softly with a smile, "No." Then, he shook off Feng Kuang's hand and continued to walk forward. At that moment, Feng Kuang's face turned slightly red. Facing Su Yi, he made a move that shocked everyone. Slap! The city governor of Great Sword Royal City and the governor of Sword King Starfield half-knelt. Feng Yun and Feng Yu were shocked and their eyes almost fell to the ground. What the hell was going on? Why did their father kneel to a 20-year-old young man? Young man, I mistakenly thought you were from the Judiciary Department, so I offended you. I confirmed that you are not a threat to Sword King Starfield. I was wrong. Please forgive me. Everyone, including Su Yi, had a slight change in their expressions when they saw him kneel, and their gazes flickered. Seeing an expert from a mid-tier Starfield kneel in front of him, Su Yi was shocked. He said immediately, "Let's find a secret place and talk." Okay. Feng Kuang was overjoyed to hear Su Yi's change of mind. He immediately agreed and led Su Yi and the others into Sword King Palace. Su Tianke and Ling Lanin were arranged by Feng Kuang to focus on healing their wounds. Feng Kuang Yijian, on the other hand, brought Su Yi and Su Xiaoshui to a dense forest. The forest was tall and the needles were shaped like sword. Handsome Su crossed his arms and ignored him. Feng Yun and Feng Yu looked at Feng Kuang with confusion. Feng Yu whispered to her brother, "Brother, isn't this the forbidden area of Sword King City? Father doesn't let us in." Shh. Feng Yun frowned. Su Yi heard what the siblings said. Su Yi's expression did not change, but there was a hint of playfulness in his eyes. You stay here and don't let anyone in." With that, Feng Kuang's eyes were filled with respect. He bowed towards Su Yi and said, "Sir, this way please." His unexpected politeness was a sharp contrast to his murderous intent. Su Yi and Handsome Su looked at each other and walked in. Along the winding path, Feng Kuang and Su Yi chatted. Feng Kuang was even more surprised and confused when he heard that they came from a remote starfield. Su Yi had a thorough understanding of the world outside the heavenly barbarian region through Feng Kuang's explanation. As everyone knew, there were two Archean catastrophes in the history of the starfield. The Archean catastrophes were the natural laws of the world, and could not be avoided. After the first Archean catastrophes, the world collapsed. Gods came to the chaotic world and created the realm of God. Since then, the War of Gods started, which was known as the Archean era. Gods were omnipotent and ruled over everything. They created everything in the realm of gods and divided the realm of gods into countless divine realms. Gods were the strongest rulers of the divine realms and the masters of the realm of gods. Chapter 2477. The major divine domains were basically divided into the mortal divine domain, monster divine domain, demon divine domain, and some minor divine domains. With the development of the realm of the gods, its scale grew larger and larger. Under the realm of the gods, there were countless star realms, such as the heavenly star divine palace, the blood sword divine palace, and the demon emperor's realm that Su Yi only knew about. After that, the second primordial great calamity erupted. The realm of the gods collapsed once again, and most of the living beings in the realm of the gods perished. A small number of lucky people from the fringe astral realms were expelled from the realm of the god. It could be said that it was also because of that earth-shattering destructive explosion that created the tens of thousands of star realms today. The primitive universe, the Milky Way, the myriad star domains, dazzling and dazzling. Nowadays, all the galaxies, regardless of whether they were high, middle, or low, had an unwritten rule. As long as it involved the immemorial great calamity, no one was allowed to privately investigate the secrets of the realm of the gods. However, they were allowed to search for the inheritance of the god. Because there were clues left behind by the gods, there would be a chance for the star domain to be directly promoted to the divine domain and achieve supreme divine power. However, the inheritance of a god was of great importance, and no one could take it for themselves. After all, it had a wide range of implications. If it was not used properly, not only would it not benefit the entire star field, it would also bring disaster to the entire star field. As a result, the Star Field Adjudication Office was established as an impartial organization. The tribunal was fair and strict, representing the highest authority in the star field. It was made up of the three strongest high-grade star regions, the Ultimate Paradise Star Region, the Lesser God Star Region, and the Illusory Demon Star Region. It was in charge of the research and use of all the clues to the realm of the gods in the entire star region, and it also bore the heavy responsibility of guarding against the great calamity of the primordial era. The role of the people sent by these three star regions in the Supreme Court was the lawmaster. They represented fairness, strictness, and the supreme fairness and justice. Extreme Happiness Palm Artist, Venerable Fu Shui. Divine Inferior Palm Artist, Venerable Fei. Illusory Devil Palm Artist, Venerable Chan Yi. Other than Venerable Fu Shui, who was not the domain lord of the blissful planet, Tian Yun and Yun Chani were the domain lords of their respective star domains. As everyone knew, The Star Area Judicial Tribunal was also the organizer of the Star Area God Investiture Ceremony. In order to encourage everyone to search for clues about the gods and prevent the gods from being hidden, the following rules were formulated. The Starfield God Investiture Ceremony is held once every 1,000 years. After the ceremony ends, the next selection period will begin immediately. Before the next Book of God Investiture opens, anyone who has clues about a god will directly receive the ultimate reward from the Book of God Investiture. This was the reason why all the middle and lower star regions were scrambling to find the remains of the gods. It was exactly because of this that Feng Yun and Feng Yu were pursued and besieged by so many people when they found Su Tianke and Ling Lanin. Everyone wanted to hand over the clues to the realm of the gods to the tribunal and obtain the ultimate reward of the Starfield God Investiture Canon. After all, the God Investiture Canon, which was held once every 1,000 years, was too long. Not everyone could wait for it. Su Yi followed behind them. Although he was listening, he was also thinking about how the Feng clan had found clues about the realm of the gods, but they hadn't taken the initiative to hand them over. That meant that this Sword King Divine realm was not simple. Other than that, Su Yi and Little Handsome Su exchanged many glances along the way. Both of them had a tacit understanding that if they could let go of Su Tianke and Ling Lanin, the place that Feng Kuang would take them to next would be very mysterious. Then how do you know so much about it? Su Yi finally interrupted Feng Kuang. Su Yi was puzzled. According to Feng Kuang, if they found clues left behind by a god like Su Tianke in the Sword King Divine Realm, shouldn't they directly hand it over to the Starfield Tribunal? Hearing this, Feng Kuang paused on the spot and pulled open a huge door made of leaves in front of him. He activated a mysterious talisman, and the giant leaves stretched out to both sides like gods. This is why I asked you to stay. Feng Kuang made a guiding gesture and pointed inside. Following his gesture, Su Yi and Little Handsome Su looked into the depths of the door. In front of them was a reinforced array. The surrounding giant trees were like iron gates that surrounded the array. The three of them stepped into the formation at the same time. A sweet smell assailed their nostrils as the faint smell of blood filled their nostrils, causing them to feel refreshed. This is... Su Yi scanned his surroundings. The formation suddenly turned blood-red, and the air was filled with a mysterious and dense blood-red smell. Very strong blood, but no evil. I haven't seen such pure energy in a long time. Little Handsome Su exclaimed. At this time, Feng Kuang was already standing in the center of the array. He looked at Su Yi and Little Handsome Su and said, "My lords, this is the totem forbidden land of the Sword King Divine Realm. Normally, only the governor of the Sword King Divine Realm can enter. I'm taking a risk. It's a gamble. I hope I'm right." Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, Feng Kuang frowned. His fierce aura instantly shot into the air, and waves of sword energy burst out. As he chanted a strange talisman in his throat, Feng Kuang's hands gradually turned blood-red. He put his hands together and turned them into a sword of flesh, slashing at the array in front of him. Ah! The sound pierced through the clouds and cracked stones. The blood-red sword light instantly stabbed into the array's slate. Rumble! The earth trembled and a huge amount of energy was transmitted from the ground. Even the surrounding leaves began to shake violently. This is... Looking at the traces that were slowly rising from the depths of the earth, Su Yi's eyes trembled. Little Handsome Su, who was beside him, took a closer look and showed a sad expression. Crack! When the full appearance of the underground object was revealed, Su Yi discovered that it was a sword box. It emitted a dense red luster, and the mysterious patterns gave off a mysterious and noble feeling. Standing beside the sword box, Feng Kuang bowed slightly to the sword box and said in a low voice, "This is the heirloom of the Sword King Divine Realm. Blood Sword Fruit." At this moment, Su Yi recognized the pattern on it. It was exactly the same as the pattern on the back of Feng Kuang's sword. Hearing this, Feng Kuang's expression changed rapidly, and then a trace of ecstasy appeared in his eyes. He said loudly, "Sir, you recognize this item?" Nodding slightly, Su-Yi thought for a while and then summoned the blood demon killing god sword. Looking at the blood patterns on it, this was the Sky Wind Divine sword that originally belonged to the Sky Wind Martial Pavilion. Because of the blood sword fruit, it gave birth to the mysterious sword spirit Hong. Could it be that everything was destined? Squinting their eyes, Feng Kuang and Little Handsome Su held their breath. Su-Yi, carrying the heavy sword, came to the side of the sword box. A majestic blood-red aura gushed out, and Su-Yi couldn't help but feel his heart tremble. Hong-Er's light snoring sound came from the sword. Su-Yi stroked his beloved old companion and then put it into the sword box. Bang! The sword entered the sword box and the sword box closed. A red light instantly spread out and flew out rapidly. Chapter 2478. My lord! Feng Kuang's eyes lit up when he saw Su-Yi bouncing back. Su-Yi signaled that he was fine. The three of them looked at the blood-red sword box in front of them. A blood-red wave rose from the small array like a sea of blood. Horrifying energy ripples spread out and engulfed the entire fighting ring in an unstoppable manner. Boom! The wind and waves in the sky made Su-Yi and Su Xiaoshui feel an indescribable desire to fight. Their boiling blood was about to erupt. Soon, the cries of a child could be heard from within the blood-red storm. Both Su Xiaoshui and Feng Kuang looked at Su-Yi with strange expressions on their faces. "Boss, when did you hide a little girl in your sword?" At this time, Little Handsome Su was trying his best to hold back his laughter. His chubby face was red. Feng Kuang was also a little embarrassed. He suddenly thought of something and looked at Su-Yi in disbelief. "My lord, could it be inside the sword?" Su-Yi didn't say anything. He spread out his hands and used his chin to point in the direction of the array, indicating that they should stop talking. In the blood-red storm, the blood-red sword box spun rapidly. It created ripples with lightning speed, and countless cracks appeared on the stone platform. Chi-la-la! In the storm, there was a faint sound of electricity. Electric arcs penetrated from the center of the storm like a thunder snake. A terrifying sword-whistling sound rushed into the sky, and the blood-red storm suddenly disappeared. The three of them fixed their eyes on the sword box at the same time. After pausing for 3 seconds, Su-Yi was the first to come back to his senses. He stepped forward slowly. He looked back at Feng Kuang and Little Handsome Su. The two of them frowned and nodded at the same time. Su-Yi rolled his eyes and immediately activated the Primordial Chaos Supreme technique. The Demon Dragon War God armor was also ready to be activated. The moment his palm touched the sword sheath, creak! There was no trace of primordial chi flowing on the sword box. It was like an ordinary wooden box. Red light shot out from the gaps, and a refreshing fragrance slowly overflowed from it. Bang! In the blink of an eye, the sword case was completely opened, and a ray of light flashed before his eyes. Then, the red light disappeared, and a little girl hugged Su-Yi like a koala bear. "Woo-woo! Master, if you don't want me to stir shit, you want me to lie in a coffin. You are a bad master. Hong-Er doesn't like you." 3 black lines flashed across Handsome Su's face. He thought it would at least be a cute girl, but instead, it was a girl younger than him. Her face was covered in tears and snot, and she was crying her heart out. However, upon closer inspection, her appearance was exquisite. Her skin was fair and rosy. She was a beauty in the making. "Don't cry. Look, Master let you out. Isn't it good to bring you out to play?" Su-Yi said in pain. Being hugged by such a little girl should have been a happy thing. Unfortunately, Hong-Er's strength was extremely terrifying. Even with his diamond body and mixed yuan demon body, Su-yi was still unable to withstand her attack. Su-yi stiffened his neck, his veins bulging. He begged for mercy. Come down first, come down first. Master has something to say. Hearing this, Hong-er sniffled, her eyes red. She wiped her dirty little hands across her face, and looked around in confusion. Sword King Divine Realm, Feng Kuang Yijian, greets the Blood Sword Spirit Palace Master. Su-yi and Hong-er turned around at the same time. Feng Kuang Yijian was inexplicably excited. He half knelt on the ground, his eyes rippling with excitement. Blood Sword Spirit Princess. Su-yi and Handsome Su were both surprised. Suddenly, Handsome Su seemed to remember something and realized, I was wondering why the aura here is so familiar. This is the aura of the Blood Sword Spirit Clan. Su-yi's eyes swept over the confused Hong-er and pulled her to his side. Hong-er seemed to be frightened by Feng Kuang Yijian and immediately began to cry again. It hurts, Hong-er's head hurts. Head. Hong-er's head. Sob, sob, sob. Half squatting on the ground, Hong-er once again cried her heart out. Who told you to tell us who you are? Su-yi glared at Feng Kuang Yijian and said angrily, Bring me some good weapons. Feng Kuang Yijian was stunned and didn't know what to do. What are you waiting for? Hurry up. Don't you know how to comfort her after making a mistake? Bad man. Handsome Su yelled as well. The poor realm master of a mid-level starfield was ordered around by Su-yi and Handsome Su. He hurriedly took out a few shiny weapons from his space bag. It wasn't until Hong-er was happily chewing on the weapons like candy that the crying stopped. The three of them looked at the little girl who was eating happily at the same time, and their eyes flashed with shock. Handsome Su exclaimed, Oh my God, this little girl's teeth are too good. Then, Su-yi pulled the two to the side and said, Hong-er is a sword spirit born from the fusion of the blood sword fruit and my heavy sword. Now, tell me everything you know. What's going on? Feng Kuang nodded, unable to contain the excitement in his eyes. He said in a low voice, If I'm not wrong, Sir's sword should be the blood demon killing god sword. Su-yi looked at Feng Kuang Yijian in surprise. This sword had two names. One was the Heavenly Wind Divine Sword, which was born together with the Gold Heaven Suppressing Stone, and the other was the Blood Demon Killing God Sword. Su-yi only knew this name. When he took it from Shi Susu, it was called this name. Shangguan Tianchen and Duanmu Qin Tian also called it the Blood Demon Killing God Sword. That's right. What's the story? Su-yi asked. Feng Kuang Yijian sighed, but Handsome Su spoke first. Speaking of the blood demon killing god sword, we have to start from the realm of the gods. In the realm of the gods, there are countless astral realms in the divine realm. The demon emperor's realm is one of them. There is also a famous astral realm called the Blood Sword Temple. At this point, Feng Kuang Yijian looked at the 7 or 8-year-old fat boy in surprise. When he talked about the past, he was shocked and didn't dare to interrupt. The Blood Sword Temple was the astral realm of the Blood Sword Spirit Clan. The Blood Sword Spirit Clan was a terrifying fighting clan in the realm of the gods. Not only were they good at making swords, but they were also good at purifying them. Their research on the way of the sword had reached a high level. The entire clan was bloodthirsty and warlike. They had a unique way of thinking about the blood essence of heaven and earth, and applied it to the way of the sword. The most powerful of them all was the blood demon god of the Blood Sword Temple. Blood demon. Looking back at Hong-er, Su-yi's heart skipped a beat. Powerful people naturally have many enemies. Unfortunately, the blood sword spirits themselves are powerful enough that many people can't do anything to them. The Blood Sword Temple doesn't take the initiative to cause trouble, so it has always been peaceful in the realm of the gods. However, when the Blood Sword Temple is mentioned in the realm of the gods, everyone's face changes color. Until one person appeared and changed everyone's view of the Blood Sword Spirit Clan. Chapter 2479. That person is the Chaos Demonic Emperor, Feng Kuang Yijian said. The Chaos Demonic Emperor traveled across the divine realms. He was born with great talent, but his personality was wild. He befriended those that others didn't dare to provoke. The blood demon, who was terror-stricken by the mere mention of his name, got to know the demon emperor by chance. The two of them called each other brothers, and this became a much-told story in the realm of the gods. As for the blood demon killing god, it all came back to the second Archean calamity. It was said that the calamity was coming again. The demon emperor's wedding was stopped and he prepared for war. All the divine realms followed the demon emperor's lead. Even the blood demon used the power of the entire deity's Templar to forge the blood demon killing god's sword to fight against the Archean calamity together with the demon emperor. But what does it have to do with the blood demon killing god? Feng Kuang Yijian narrowed his eyes and said in a low voice, Yijian's ancestor only said that during the second Archean calamity, the blood demon ancestor led the deity's Templar disciples to kill many high gods. That's how the sword got its name. After that, the calamity broke out and many people died. A small portion of the blood sword spirit clan survived, but the blood demon killing god sword disappeared without a trace. Hearing this, Su Yi's heart was filled with complicated feelings. What did the Chaos Demonic Emperor experience during the second Archean calamity? Why did the blood demon kill so many high gods in the realm of the gods? The Archean calamity must be hiding some terrifying conspiracy. At this time, Feng Kuang Yijian's voice sounded again. The surviving blood sword spirit clan escaped, but it was as if they were cursed. They lost their terrifying battle strength, but they still had the ability to make and purify swords. They were good at planting blood sword fruits, and the deity's Templar star fields went to them in an endless stream. Su Yi also heard about the rest from the iron soulfish. In fact, the blood sword fruit's ability to purify demonic weapons depended on the user's habit. More and more people went to the deity's Templar star fields to ask for blood sword fruits, and the more they asked, the more weapons there were. In the end, the deity's Templar star fields vented their anger on the blood sword spirit clan. The blood sword spirit clan was a bloodthirsty clan to begin with, and they had a bit of evil chi in them. As time went by, they actually attracted a calamity. This kind of disaster naturally made the weak blood sword spirits fight back. One of the blood sword spirits went to the demon race, hoping to be protected, which pushed the blood sword spirits to extinction. Defecting to the demon race? That's just a lie. In fact, someone covets the blood sword spirit clan's supreme blood sword fruit. Feng Kuang glared fiercely at the sky, his battle intent condensing. Su Yi raised his eyebrows as he heard this from Feng Kuang. In the past, the blood sword spirit clan that had survived the second great ancient calamity had escaped with a supreme blood sword fruit, which contained the essence and soul of Lord Blood Demon's daughter, Blood Serum Ling. In order to obtain this blood sword fruit, the blood sword spirit had defected to the demon race. People's hearts are treacherous. It's the same no matter where you go. Su Yi shook his head, feeling a chill in his heart. He turned to look at Hong who was chewing happily, with sympathy and love in his eyes. This little girl was stuffed into the blood sword fruit when she was born. I don't know how long it took for her master to bring her back to the sky barbarian world and into my hands. Everything is destined. Su Yi sighed and said solemnly. Hong father, Lord Blood Demon, was brothers with him in his previous life, the Chaos Demon Emperor, and even risked his life for him. This debt of gratitude, let me repay it in this lifetime. Lord Blood Demon, don't worry. From now on, Qing Ling will not suffer any more. Su Yi shouted and clenched his fist. On the side, Feng Kuang and Su Yi chatted. Su Yi said seriously, how did the Sword King Divine Realm get involved with the Blood Sword Spirit Clan? At this point, Feng Kuang also knew that little handsome Su's background was extraordinary. He said in a low voice, My celestial realm's ancestor once went to the Blood Sword Spirit Clan's territory to ask for a sword. He received a gift from the Blood Sword Spirit Clan. After learning of the tragedy of the Sanguine Spirit race, the ancestors of the celestial realm swore to clear the name of the Sanguine Spirit race. They even wanted to find Princess Qingling and give her the spirit-summoning sword case left behind by the Sanguine Spirit to help her recover her true body. You guys can be considered to be loyal and righteous. It's enough for the Blood Demon God and the Blood Sword Spirit Clan to have friends like you. After saying that, Su-yi bowed deeply to Feng Kuang. In fact, Su-yi was also thanking Feng Kuang on behalf of the Chaos Demon Emperor. He really did not know how to repay the kindness of the Blood Sword Temple. Suddenly, Feng Kuang was in fear and trepidation. He bowed to Su-yi and said softly, "My lord, since Princess Qingling has no memory of the past, please don't mention it in front of her. It's a miracle that she was reborn with the help of the sword box. From now on, please treat the princess well." "Of course," Su-yi replied solemnly. Suddenly, he thought of something and looked at Hong-er. Hong-er turned around and said to Su-yi in a childish voice, "I've finished eating. Master, I want more." Su-yi couldn't refuse her big round eyes, and Feng Kuang's sword was even more fond of Hong-er. He immediately took out many good weapons, almost all of which were heaven-grade or heaven-grade weapons. "Wow!" Hong-er's eyes lit up. She quickly got up from the ground and looked at the shining weapons on the ground. She was drooling. What a weird little girl. Eat, 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 eat like a pig. Handsome Su smiled helplessly and said like an old man, "Hey! You damn fatty, you called me a little girl just now. Are you big? Besides, who's fat? Who's fat? You fat boy." Hong-er was always eloquent when she did not have a headache. She immediately scolded handsome Su and made him speechless. Su-yi, who was standing aside, could not help laughing. It was always handsome Su who scolded people. Today, he was finally scolded. Speaking of which, her father and the Demon King were at the same time. "You have been reborn many times. In terms of age, she is not younger than you." Su-yi smiled faintly. Handsome Su immediately frowned and scolded, "Boss, you're talking nonsense. Even her father had to bow to me when he saw me. This little girl is too unruly. Little girl, you should call me Grandpa." "Say that again, pig-headed boy." Hong-er stuck out her belly and faced handsome Su. Soon, their bellies were against each other and neither of them was willing to give in. As soon as he finished speaking, Feng Kuang's eyeballs almost fell out. Who was handsome Su? He did not even care about the blood demon. Now, this young man was even more terrifying. If handsome Su called him boss, wouldn't that be even more terrifying? Rumble. Before Feng Kuang could figure out what was going on, red light surged around him again. Chapter 2480. The dense divine light was like a demon god descending into the world. As the electric arcs flowed, Hong-er's figure suddenly changed, and a slender and curvy figure suddenly appeared. "This is..." Su-yi's eyes flashed, and a bad feeling arose in his heart. Where was the delicate little beauty in front of him? A great beauty had appeared. Her red hair was alluring, and her red clothes swayed in the wind. She was like a demon immortal that walked out of blood and fire. Her slender legs coupled with her curvy waist slowly walked out of the red light. Her lithe and graceful figure swayed in front of his eyes, outlining an alluring and seductive curve. Looking at this charming and dangerous red dress, it was as if it was dripping with blood, and it was intoxicating. The female general opened her mouth slightly wider. Looking at her beautiful face again, her face was exquisite and otherworldly. Her every movement was extremely moving, and her eyebrows were flirtatious enough to steal the souls of men in the world. What a strong aura! Su-yi narrowed his eyes and took a step back. "This is..." Feng Kuang's eyes narrowed, and a light of disbelief flashed in the depths of his eyes. Sue-yi smiled. Little handsome Sue had provoked a tough opponent this time. A cold and terrifying warbler's cry spread through the air. "What did you just say?" "Say it again," the adult Hong-er said faintly. At this moment, handsome Sue's head only reached Hong-er's ribs. When he raised his head, no matter how hard he tried to talk, his aura was completely gone. Looking at the aggressive adult Hong-er, handsome Sue's mouth twitched, and he took 2 steps back. He said softly, "A good man doesn't fight with a woman. If you dare to bully little Ling-er in the future, don't blame me for being impolite," Hong-er said darkly. Then she turned to Sue-yi and said, "Hong-er greets master." Hearing this red-clothed woman also call Sue-yi master, Feng Kuang's face darkened. Feng Kuang's lips moved slightly. He wanted to say something, but he awkwardly retreated to the side. "Long time no see, Hong-er. You haven't come out for a long time." Sue-yi smiled faintly. The corners of Hong-er's brow twitched slightly as she looked around. She told Sue-yi that after recovering her true body, she had recovered a lot of memories about the secrets of the blood sword spirit race. "Back then, the great change in my family caused an indelible blow to my soul when I was young. Therefore, after being buried in the blood sword fruit, the 2 talents of martial arts and swordsmanship also survived as 2 separate entities. Although little Ling-er and I share the same body, we grew up separately. I only come out when Ling-er is bullied." Adult Hong-er glared at handsome Sue behind her. The latter waved his hand helplessly and said, I know. I'll treat her as my little sister from now on." "That's good." "However, Hong-er, I originally had a heavenly demon soul contract with all of you. Now that all of you have regained your true forms, I still—" Sue-yi's meaning was self-evident. If Hong-er wasn't willing, Sue-yi wouldn't force her. After saying that, adult Hong-er smiled slightly. Her smile was beautiful and charming. "Master, don't worry. Since we have already signed a contract, we will naturally be loyal to Master forever. As for Father's sword, we will still listen to little Ling. After all, she has the talent of swordsmanship." Hearing this, Sue-yi nodded. After exchanging greetings for a while, Hong-er disappeared and little Ling-er returned to the ground. On the dirty ground, little Ling-er patted her stomach, not knowing what had happened. In the distance, handsome Sue saw little Ling-er again. His attitude changed greatly as he walked to her side. "Little Ling-er, if there's anything else you want to eat, tell me." Instantly, little Ling-er snorted and turned her head away. She said seriously, "The weasel wishes the chicken a happy new year." "No, the weasel wishes the little princess a happy new year." "Ah." Sue-yi walked forward and affectionately patted little Ling-er's head. Who would have thought that such a cute little girl was not only a sword spirit host, but also an extremely powerful soul. Moreover, she was the blood demon's daughter. Such a terrifying identity was enough to make people in the entire star field fight to flatter her. It was not wrong to call her a little princess. Then, Sue-yi discussed with little Ling-er. As long as he gave her enough food, little Ling-er would be a good helper for Sue-yi. After eating and drinking, little Ling-er hurriedly asked to return to the primeval chaos ancient bell to rest. Not long after, she began to snore. This girl. Sue-yi smiled bitterly. Now, Sue-yi also knew why the Sword King Starfield was so unique. Because of their relationship with the Blood Sword Temple, the Sword King Starfield was not very fond of the Starfield Tribunal. If the Tribunal wanted to find clues, the Sword King Starfield would never look for them. If they found clues, they would not hand over anything related to the Blood Sword Spirit Clan. In the Sword King Starfield's heart, they belonged to the Blood Sword Temple. The Euphoria Starfield and the Divine Lesser Starfield were **T rules, fairness, decrees, and justice. The Starfields that flaunted these were a bunch of sanctimonious hypocrites. "Young man, not bad. You've hit the nail on the head. When I return to the realm of the gods, I will train you well. Satisfied, handsome Su acted like an old man, his face full of pride and arrogance. Feng Kuang Yijian bowed and thanked handsome Su and Su Yi and made a promise. Now, he was completely convinced that Su Yi was an important person who had inherited the realm of the gods' legacy. The two of them looked at Su Yi. At this time, Su Yi had returned to the formation platform. He closed his eyes and an endless sword essence began to condense around him. "Shoo!" handsome Su whispered. Feng Kuang Yijian frowned and said softly, "My lord seems to be comprehending the sword essence. It seems that the princess has recovered her true body. It is also a great opportunity for my lord. Let's go out first. Tell me about the current situation in the star field." Immediately, the two of them left, and the sword-shaped leaf quickly closed up like a guard. Feng Yun and Feng Yu were filled with curiosity when they saw how respectful their father was to little handsome Su. In their impression, their father had always been a high and mighty figure with a disdainful gaze. Now, he was actually so respectful to this little fatty. It was rare in their lives. "Your son and daughter are not bad. From now on, you can be my attendants and follow me to fight and conquer the realm of the gods," handsome Su praised. "Attendants?" Hearing this, Feng Yun and Feng Yu were shocked, but they did not take it seriously. However, because of their relationship, they did not show it, although they were slightly angry. "Dong! You two unfilial sons! Didn't you hear what handsome Su said? He wants to take you in as attendants. Hurry up and thank him." With a whip kick, Feng Yun and Feng Yu were a little stunned. If this handsome Su really had some amazing cultivation, it would be fine. However, his cultivation was about the same as theirs, and the age difference was too big. "Father!" Feng Yun rubbed his butt and looked at Feng Kuang Yijian, his eyes full of shock. "Hurry up and thank handsome Su." Feng Yun. Feng Kuang Yijian did not give up. "Father, what are you doing?" Feng Yu was also a little displeased. A girl also wanted to save face in public. All right. Hitting a child in public will cause psychological trauma to the child. Handsome Su stopped them as if he was protecting his children. At this moment, Feng Yun and Feng Yu's faces were full of black lines, and they were rather angry. "Yes, handsome Su." Feng Kuang Yijian immediately shut up. Looking at his useless children, he said angrily, "I'll deal with you when we get back." Chapter 2481. The four of them quickly arrived at a stone room. As soon as they reached the door, the scorching temperature of the room turned the bricks red. "You guys can leave first. I'll take care of the clues." "Yes." Feng Kuang replied respectfully. After Feng Kuang and his family left, Feng Yun and Feng Yu looked at Feng Kuang with innocent eyes and whispered, "Dad, what is the background of little handsome and big brother Su Yi? Did little Yu and I really make a contribution this time?" Feng Yun raised his chin proudly. Suddenly, Feng Kuang opened his mouth and said, "From today onwards, the two of you must not try to stand out. Dad will take care of everything for you." "Dad, what's going on? Will the adjudicator come for us?" Feng Yun was unconvinced. Feng Yu suddenly felt the seriousness of the matter, and her lips trembled. "We're not afraid of them. When has our Sword King Divine Territory ever been afraid of the adjudicator? Dad knows. Just do as I say. Don't leave Sword King City for a year." Feng Kuang's eyes suddenly darkened and became extremely serious. Looking at Feng Kuang's serious expression, the siblings immediately fell silent and did not dare to say anything. "Will the two of you open that place for the whole starfield? What kind of scene was it inside?" "Ah." Feng Kuang walked forward with his hands behind his back and his aura surged. Feng Kuang's sword gradually disappeared from sight. Tianke, Lanin greets Grandpa Ancestor. Su Tianke and Ling Lanin knelt respectfully in front of little handsome Su. Little Handsome Sue's young face also became unusually excited. Good, 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 get up. I remember that the two of you used to be a couple. I didn't expect you to still be like this. Little Handsome Sue teased. Su Tianke smiled innocently. Ling Lanin beside him was slightly shy and said softly, Grandpa Ancestor, you're joking. Don't call me Grandpa. People will misunderstand if they hear you. Just call me Little Handsome Lord. Yes. Little Handsome Sue picked up the spiritual fruit cake on the table and chewed loudly. He then turned to look at Su Tianke and Ling Lanin. How much do you remember about what happened back then? Su Tianke and Ling Lanin sat beside Little Shuai. Their gazes were heavy as they sighed. To tell you the truth, Lanin and I ran around outside. Most of our memories came back. Only the memories of the Archean calamity seemed to have evaporated. Yeah, I can't remember it at all. It's as if it never happened. Ling Lanin said faintly. Little Handsome Sue nodded. He licked his chubby lips and said, Yeah, same as me. Su Tianke and Ling Lanin's eyes trembled at the same time. Even the true god Phoenix was stripped of its memories. What exactly happened back then? Su Tianke was speechless. Then, Su Xiaoshui picked up another piece of spiritual fruit and said with a smile, Then let our Lord Demon King uncover the mystery. Chaos Demon Emperor. He was an influential figure in the three divine regions. Didn't he already? Ling Lanin's eyes widened as she looked at Su Tianke. Su Tianke suddenly became very excited. He moved closer to Little Commander and said mysteriously, Could it be Su-Yi? Doesn't it look like him? Little Commander turned around with a sharp gaze. That's great. That's great. Su-Yi, this brat, I can tell he's not ordinary. I didn't expect him to be such a powerful ancient god. Ling Lanin's chest rose and fell as waves of energy flashed across her moon eyes. Tell me what clues you found. How did Feng Yun and Feng Yu meet you? Little Handsome Sue asked calmly. It turned out that ever since Tianke and Lanin left the heavenly barbarian region, they had been searching everywhere for clues about the realm of the gods. They ran into people who were searching for the relics left behind by the gods. Tianke and Lanin finally found a way to go to the realm of the gods, but they just happened to run into a group of super strong people. Su Tianke and Ling Lanin's unique martial arts cultivation and the earth-shattering commotion they caused instantly attracted attention. After that, they ran into Feng Yun and Feng Yu. Along the way, the four of them traveled together. Feng Yun and Feng Yu also brought Tianke and Lanin to the Sword King region. Where's the clue to the realm of the gods? Little Handsome Sue wiped the corner of his mouth as his eyes widened. Su Tianke and Ling Lanin stood up and looked at Little Handsome Sue at the same time. They said softly, The Chaos Demon region that has been abandoned for a long time. Little Handsome Sue raised his head as if he was calculating something. When Su Tianke told him the location, Little Handsome Sue frowned even more. If that's the case, this region should be the territory of the demonic god region. Su Tianke nodded as surprise flashed across his chiseled face. He said softly, Now that you mention it, it does seem to be the case. The demonic god region. Why would it appear in the demonic god region's territory? The entrance to the realm of the gods wasn't in the demonic god region back then. After thinking for a while, the three of them were discouraged and knocked their heads angrily. They just couldn't remember. Boom. At that moment, a sharp sword cry came from outside. It was as if a divine bird had spread its wings and soared into the sky, causing the ground to tremble. The three of them stood up at the same time and looked outside the window. Little Handsome Sue said softly, It's in the direction of the boss. What happened? Let's go and take a look. In an instant, the three of them flew to the inner court. Feng Kuang, Yijian, and the super experts of Sword King City gathered together. Everyone present looked at the huge sword mark in the sky and discussed animatedly. Sword Will, the subversive realm. Who is it? Could it be that our great Sword King city has produced another peerless genius? Zone leader, who is in the forbidden area? The experts were shocked as they looked at the sky. Terrifying waves of air were rolling and the sky was filled with the sound of metal clanging. Feng Kuang, who was standing at the front, bowed to little handsome Su. The group of experts behind him didn't know what was going on and also bowed to a young boy. Immediately, everyone's expression became very strange. What was this boy who had appeared out of nowhere for? It seemed that the zone leader was very respectful to little handsome Su and treated him as a guest of honor. Surprise and fear appeared on everyone's faces as they whispered to Su Yi and Su Tianke. Little handsome Su, you're here? Feng Kuang nodded and said, Yes. It seems that the little girl is of great help to the boss's sword will. Little handsome Su was amazed. My lord, you're right. According to the situation, I'm afraid that Master Su Yi has already entered the subversive realm. Your sword will is indeed unique. Anyway, my boss is the most powerful in the entire star field. It's just that he hasn't come out yet. I think he's breaking through to the half-step Yuan Tian realm. As soon as little handsome Su finished speaking, Feng Kuang immediately understood. The energy around him was majestic, and the sharp sound waves roared into the sky. Sword King City, all half-step Yuan Tian realm level 6 and above, enter the forbidden area to guard. Chapter 2482. At the mention of the forbidden area, everyone became excited. Could it be that they were going to make an exception today? Whoosh, whoosh. In an instant, all the half-step Yuan Tian cultivators on the scene stepped lightly on the ground, creating a violent gust of wind as they broke through the air. Tianke, let's go back too. I can't lose to boss. I'll teach you a few more moves of the Phoenix clan. Hearing this, Su Tianke was overjoyed. He was from the Peacock clan. Although he had the Phoenix bloodline, he was still far from the true god Phoenix. Being taught by Little Handsome was better than being taught by himself for several years. All of a sudden, 3 waves of fire swept through the sky. Space rippled, and the divine light was dazzling. Handsome Su had already left. Inside a palace that exuded a dreamy aura, the sound of Sanskrit chanting could be heard, and a charming female voice echoed in the depths of the dome. Thin strands of energy moved in the air, and the entire place was filled with an extremely graceful and luxurious fragrance. In the deserted hall, a pair of long, white legs stretched in the corridor. The faint light in the air was like a veil that was blown away by the fragrance of the woman. Tap, tap. No one had come to the quiet hall for a long time. The arrival of the woman seemed to have broken the peace that should have been there. Ha ha! As if there was a woman's laughter, the woman raised her head slightly, and the laughter in the sky stopped abruptly. It was instantly replaced by a burst of cold air and then disappeared. Upon closer inspection, the woman was wearing a purple robe. Her long skirt shone brightly, and she looked like a fairy. Her figure was graceful, and her elegance was peerless. At this moment, the woman's eyes were covered by a thin veil, and she looked holy and elegant. Above her eyelashes, her eyebrows were like the mist of spring, and there was no warmth in her. She walked in front of an exquisitely carved stone door in a daze. Just as she was about to knock on the door, an elegant female voice came from behind the stone door. "Why are you here again?" The woman paused slightly, and the corner of her lips sank. She looked at the pattern on the stone door and said coldly, "What? Shouldn't I be here to see my sister?" "Sister? You still recognize me as your sister?" The woman behind the stone door was surprised, and her voice became a little hoarse. The woman said softly, "Sister made a mistake, sister will pay for it. If sister still blames me, I won't regret it." After saying that, she turned around, and a ray of light appeared on her sleeves. The woman raised her legs and walked back. "Fu Yi, do you know what love is?" After a pause, the woman who was called Fu Yi was speechless. Her mouth twitched slightly, and she said coldly, "Don't say something that I don't have and I can't have. Da. Fu Yi took a few more steps, and the female voice inside the stone door became hurried. "How is the girl from last time? What do you want to do with her? You're just doing what you haven't done yet. If you don't do it, someone else will. Of you, Fu Yi." In an instant, an inexplicable sound erupted from within the stone door. A heart-wrenching roar resounded through the cold palace. The woman cried, "You can't! That's the only thing I care about in that place. Haven't you broken up yet? Oh right, you still have a son, you still have a husband. You still have your so-called love." Suddenly, there was a loud knocking sound from inside the stone door. The woman cried and shouted, "You promised me that as long as I came back you would never look for them. I promised you. But if he wants to come, don't blame me. Oh right, let me tell you a piece of unfortunate news. You are very familiar with the name that your woman talks about every day. Sui." The stone door suddenly became quiet. Fu Ye's black pupils flickered slightly, and then she moved away from the palace. Why did it become like this? Inside the stone door, after Fu Yi left, sad cries and shouts resounded throughout the illusory palace. Outside the door, there was a constant chatter, and inside the door, there were endless cries and shouts. Sword King Starfield. When Handsome Su came out of his closed-door training, Su-Yi was still in his closed-door training. Humans are so troublesome. What half-step Yuan Ti on stage? Their talent is so bad. Handsome Su cursed. He was at the 9th stage of the monster realm. If he continued to cultivate, he would directly reach the monster realm. Only when he reached the monster realm would he be able to recover half of the original strength of the Phoenix True God. If it weren't for the fact that he missed Su-Yi, Handsome Su would definitely find a place to cultivate to the highest level and rush to the realm of gods to find out about the immemorial Great Calamity. Lord Handsome Su, you have only been in closed-door training for 2 days, but your cultivation has improved so much. Feng Kuangyi sensed the terrifying monster qi on Handsome Su and couldn't help but tremble. He was even more certain that these two people would cause an earth-shattering commotion in the entire starfield. When Boss comes out, we will also prepare to leave. We will deal with the realm of gods, Handsome Su said in a deep voice. Feng Kuangyi was stunned. After thinking for a while, he nodded and said softly, "My lord, if you need the Sword King Starfield, just let me know, I will not hesitate. You are quite loyal to the Blood Devil, but you are a little less domineering. You should train more. I will leave the Blood Sword Temple for you." "Thank you, my lord." Feng Kuangyi was overjoyed. He rubbed his hands together like a little brother. At this moment, above the Forbidden Forest, hundreds of half-step Yuan Sky Stage 6 experts formed a circle. 4 Su-Yi, who came from a starfield with thin spiritual qi, reaching the half-step Yuan Sky Stage from the 9th stage of the Origin Domain would directly affect the foundation of his martial arts in the future. Therefore, Feng Kuangyi ordered them not to blindly protect him. They had to pay attention to the changes in the spiritual qi around Su-Yi and the strength of his cultivation to adjust the power of the formation. Boom! Suddenly, a destructive force that could devour everything in the world resounded between heaven and earth. A huge whirlpool of wind gathered in the air, as if it was going to tear the world apart. "Is that the boss?" Handsome Su exclaimed in shock. Feng Kuangyi's face instantly darkened. He pulled Handsome Su behind him and looked behind him. Above the void behind them, thousands of mystical light rays descended like the light of Buddha. Within the huge light rays that connected heaven and earth, the shadows of several super-experts were floating in the air. The person in the lead was Venerable Fu Yi, who was wearing a purple robe. Behind him were 4 black-robed martial artists, who were 3 times thicker and taller than ordinary men. They held black staffs and stood behind him. Venerable Fu Yi of the Sword King Starfield has arrived. 10 words were like 10 sound waves that impacted heaven and earth. As the energy tore, the space rippled and collapsed inch by inch. Under the light rays, the divine power was impressive. Chapter 2483. Venerable Phi. Everyone tensed up when they heard the 4 black emissaries shouting. The person who had come was not a person, but rather the master of the ultimate happiness Starfield, Venerable Fu Yi. Immediately, everyone's cold gazes trembled. What is she doing here? The arrival of a venerable will definitely cause a commotion. She's so beautiful. This is the first time Venerable Phi has come to the Sword King Starfield. The 4 black emissaries behind her are also very powerful. Is she here to look for the Starfield leader? Sounds of gulping could be heard all around them. Feng Kuang, Yijian, and handsome Su's eyes instantly darkened. The Supreme Court had arrived much faster than he had expected. It was also Feng Kuang Yijian's first time facing the Law Master of the Elysium Starfield. He said softly, "Handsome Su, step back. I'll take care of this. This woman's realm is extraordinary. I can't figure it out. Be careful," Handsome Su said quietly. To be safe, Su Xiaoshui, Su Tianke, and the others moved back half an inch. Such a small movement was as clear as fire in Fu Ye's eyes and was very thorough. Starfield leader Feng Kuang, why don't you hand over the clues you found? Phi said. His voice was like an oriole flying out of the valley. His silky voice was like a melody, making everyone's heart skip a beat. Feng Kuang Yijian slowly walked out from the crowd. He raised his eyebrows and looked at the sky. He said loudly, "Clues? What clues? Please enlighten me. Don't deny it. Do you think the adjudicator is so easy to trick?" Behind him, a black emissary suddenly shouted. The boiling energy in his black robe instantly burst out, but it quickly dissipated in the blink of an eye. Whoosh! The black emissary suddenly stepped back and raised his black staff. His voice trembled. "Venerable Phi, I was too impatient." Phi ignored the black emissary's words. His icy gaze fell on Feng Kuang Yijian. He said faintly, "I'll give you one more chance. Don't make me attack." Clang! The atmosphere on the battlefield instantly became tense. All the people surrounding Feng Kuang pulled out their sword. Countless sword waves swept across the sky. The sound of metal clashing broke the void, bringing with it a gust of wind. The whirlwind swirled, and once it was swept up, it would be a bloody mess. I'll say it again. Sword King Starfield has no clues. Turning around, Feng Kuang signaled Feng Yun and Feng Yu to step forward. "Venerable Overleaf, I'd like to ask you something. Although my son and daughter are good for nothing, it's not up to some random cats and dogs to bully them. I know that there are people who don't like my Sword King Starfield for a long time. If they use this as an excuse to cause trouble for my Sword King Starfield, I, Feng Kuang Sword, am not a pushover. He's not easy to bully." The eyes of the people of the Sword King Star area were piercingly cold. The sword vortex in the sky was piercingly cold, stirring up a terrifying sound wave. Looking at the Sword King Star area's imposing manner, her eyes, which were covered by a thin veil, blinked gently. 2 beams of killing intent flashed across her eyes. Then, she clapped her hands lightly and praised coldly. No wonder most people don't dare to bully the Sword King Starfield. If the Starfields were so united, the immemorial great calamity wouldn't have happened. As soon as he finished speaking, the entire place fell silent. Overleaf slowly moved his gaze and immediately locked onto Little Handsome Su. Feng Kuang Sword and Little Handsome Su's hearts trembled at the same time. Overleaf's strength represented the Elysium Starfield. At this moment, Little Handsome Su was definitely no match for him. "Venerable Overleaf, I swear on the Sword King Starfield that I don't have any clues. Do you want me to guarantee it with my head? Feng Kuangyi's sword immediately stood in front of little handsome Su. His eyes met Overleaf's in the sky, and the corner of his mouth twitched. A terrifying soul pressure instantly covered the entire place, causing everyone present to tremble. In a flash, before Overleaf's figure disappeared from the spot, he had already started fighting with Feng Kuangyi's sword. Their speed was as fast as a storm. Under the terrifying confrontation, every move made people's hearts tremble. Bang, bang, bang. The space trembled rapidly. In less than half a breath, Overleaf returned to his original position. Feng Kuangyi's sword, however, was pushed back hundreds of meters. Using his sword to support himself, he spat out blood. At this moment, everyone was shocked. What happened just now was too fast. Before anyone could see clearly, it was already over. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, Feng Kuangyi's sword slowly raised his head. A murderous intent suddenly condensed. Area leader Feng Kuangyi, you really live up to your reputation. However, you want to protect the person who has clues with your strength? It's not enough. Overleaf said coldly. You! All the Sword King Starfield's experts were shocked. Their killing intent surged toward the 5 people in the sky. Feng Kuangyi's sword was defeated in an instant. Overleaf's strength was simply unbelievable. Looking at the injured Feng Kuangyi's sword, everyone cursed angrily and clenched their fists. Their boss had been beaten up. Wasn't this a disgrace to the Sword King Starfield? Motherf asterisk Kerr, you ugly woman, say that again. The childish voice instantly attracted everyone's attention. Seeing this, Su Tianke and Ling Lanin also roared and walked out. The chubby little handsome Su pointed at Overleaf in the sky with his big belly. His small eyes were filled with anger. Ugly woman, get down here! Roar! Suddenly, little handsome Tianke and Ling Lanin released a terrifying demonic aura around them. In the small space, the 3 of them exerted their strength at the same time. Little handsome Tianke's fiery light burst out at the same time. Ling Lanin assisted him with her clan's illusory secret technique. A fiery bird spread its wings and soared. The temperature in the endless space instantly rose. The fierce and seductive cry of a beast swept through the sky. The entire space seemed to be frozen. Squeak! The divine bird spread its wings and soared into the sky. The ancient ferocious beast roared fiercely. Venerable, watch out! Seeing this, the 4 burly black envoys blocked in front of them with their black staff. Suddenly, a thunderous black light distorted the space. Overleaf, who was behind them, raised his eyebrows and waved his arm gently. Clang! In an instant, a black vortex rushed toward the black bird. The space exploded. Are you looking down on me? I'll burn you until your parents can't recognize you. Seeing that Overleaf was not using his full strength, little handsome Su shouted in the violent wind and waved. What? Disperse! The 5 of them trembled at the same time. When the flames were close to them, Overleaf felt that the flames were too strange. He pushed the 4 black envoys to other places. Overleaf stopped looking down on them and opened his hand. The purple light turned into a huge vine that wrapped around the fiery bird. The aura in the air surged, and the sound of sparks exploding could be heard. Rumble! The divine bird descended and turned into a huge pressure that directly pulled the 5 of them down from the sky. The 4 black envoys smashed into the ground like cannonballs. They were in a sorry state. Whoosh! Whoosh! Overleaf turned around gracefully. The violent purple light spun rapidly in the void. Only then did it dissolve the flames of the divine bird. Standing upright on the ground, Overleaf's slim figure was not damaged at all. Her figure was graceful, and under the light, she was like an orchid in a deep valley. Chapter 2484. So powerful! Su Tianke and Ling Lanin exclaimed at the same time. The three of them combined the power of the ancient mythical beasts, but they only managed to slightly injure Fu Yi. Such strength was definitely at stage 5 or stage 6 of Yuan Sky. Little Handsome, are you alright? Feng Kuang Yijian stood beside Little Handsome Su. Little Handsome Su shook his head slightly and said coldly, "When Master escapes from the formation, the Sword King Starfield will definitely help Master," Feng Kuang Yijian said in a low voice. At this critical moment, Little Handsome Su turned around and said with a touched face, "Good boy, I didn't misjudge you." Then, Little Handsome Su looked at the elders of the Sword King City, who were still protecting Su Yi in the sky. Energy soared into the sky. The mysterious seal had reached the most critical moment. Little Handsome Su and the other two looked at each other with cold eyes. They didn't need to say anything to know that they had already made up their minds. The Sword King Starfield was such a loyal and righteous people. How could they abandon them? Their boss had broken through to half-step Yuan Sky, and they had to take care of this matter even if they had to die. No matter what, they couldn't let Fu Yi find out about their boss's existence. Thump, thump. The four black emissaries stood up and shook their heads. Other than being a little dizzy, they weren't injured in any other way. The black emissaries' physical strength was evident. "Take them away," Fu Yi said quietly. No matter how powerful Little Handsome Su was, with Fu Ye's cultivation, he could tell that this kind of attack could only be used once. "How dare you!" Feng Kuang Yijian shouted angrily. His long robe fluttered, and the cold wind of his sword rippled in front of Little Handsome Su again. "Don't touch Master!" Feng Yun and Feng Yu also stood in front of Little Handsome Su and Su Tianke. In an instant the atmosphere was tense. It seemed that the Sword King Starfield was going to protect the three of them until the end. "In the name of the tribunal, I ask one last time. Will the Sword King Starfield let them go?" Fu Ye's voice was cold and piercing, revealing a bone-piercing murderous intent. He meant that he had given enough face to the Sword King Starfield. As long as the Sword King Starfield said no, they would immediately attack the Sword King Starfield in the name of the tribunal. Today, the Sword King Starfield would also welcome a storm of blood. Feng Kuang's sword didn't look sideways. Behind him, a group of experts stood behind the Domain Master. Their expressions were solemn, and they all looked like they were ready to sacrifice themselves for justice. Boom! Fu Yi turned around and didn't say anything unnecessary. The four black emissaries raised their black staffs in unison. Immediately, a mysterious and complicated light spread out above their heads. As the mysterious incantation was chanted, the voices of the four black envoys spun faster and faster on the spot. Like a black storm, space exploded along with it. Bang! At this moment, a ferocious dragon roar could be heard coming from the forbidden forest. The heavenly clouds trembled and multicolored light shone for 10,000 li dazzling and dazzling. The golden red light intertwined like divine chains and covered the entire forest. Boom! At this moment, all the experts of half-step to origin stage 6 and above in the Sword King Starfield had already removed the array. They had already heard what was happening below. In an instant, they rushed to Feng Kuang's side to protect the Domain Master. At the same time, the four black emissaries stopped their powerful waves and looked up at the sky. As the golden light dissipated in the air, an even more ferocious roar of a divine bird made everyone cover their ears. Their eardrums were in pain. All the experts looked back with trembling eyes. Although this kind of legendary ancient divine beast was not rare in the Starfield, it was the first time they had seen such a ferocious roar. Above the void, light and sound waves came one after another. As the golden light spread out, the earth-shattering roar made everyone's heart tremble. Lord Fu Yi slowly turned around and stared at the illusory figure of the divine bird in the sky. His eyes were also filled with splendor. Who was singing just now? Singing as if his wife had died? A deep and gloomy male voice came from the dense forest behind him. Following the voice, everyone looked at the dense forest. They saw a man in a green robe walking with mysterious steps to Handsome Sue like a ghost. "Boss!" Handsome Sue looked up at Sue-Yi. At this moment, Sue-Yi's body was filled with an indescribable domineering aura. Although he was only at the first stage of the half-step origin sky realm, compared to the Yuan domain realm, the difference was like heaven and earth. Sue-Yi looked down at Handsome Sue. Behind him, Su Tianke and Ling Lanin were both excited. He said, "It's been hard on you guys to stand in front of me." Then, Sue-Yi raised his chin at Lord Fu-Yi, who had turned around. "This beautiful lady is not bad-looking. Why are you biting people without distinguishing right from wrong?" "What did you say?" Fu-Yi frowned and waved his hand. The 4 black emissaries took a step back. Fu-Yi walked up and sized up Sue-Yi. He couldn't help but feel his heart tremble. The man in front of him was only at the first stage of the half-step origin sky realm. However, he always revealed a domineering aura that looked down on the world. His deep eyes hid endless Taoist connotation. Even Fu Ye's soul energy could feel a nameless fluctuation. The man in front of him had an extremely powerful soul energy. Suddenly, Fu Ye's eyes, which were hidden under the thin veil, throbbed slightly. "I'm very handsome, right?" Sui said calmly with a smile on his face. "How dare you disrespect the law master of the execution court? You deserve to die!" One of the black emissaries roared. Fu Yi stretched out his arm and stopped the black emissaries. He said softly, "You're quite interesting. Are you the one who knows the clues?" "Of course I know." Sue-Yi raised his eyebrows and didn't think much of it. "Boss." Handsome Su Tianke, and Ling Lanin were very anxious. Fu Yi nodded. Under everyone's watchful eyes, he instantly approached Sue-Yi. The two of them were only about a fist's length apart. From Sue-Yi's clear and flawless eyes, Fu Yi couldn't see any secrets. Suddenly, Sue-Yi chuckled. "You're too close. Aren't you afraid that I'll see through you?" Sue-Yi said this sentence with his primordial chi. No one else could hear it. As soon as he finished speaking, the Origin Supreme technique burst out from his pores. The fierce power was like a god descending to the world. It was extremely domineering. The fierce wind blew their clothes up. Fu Ye's eyes, which were like stagnant water, seemed to have a long-lost ripple. Some images appeared in their minds. "Someone needs to be sacrificed for the crime committed by your sister." "I know. The Law Master needs to cut off the 7 emotions and 6 desires. From now on, you'll be a speck of dust and a piece of ice crystal between heaven and earth. Are you willing to do that?" "Yes." The young Wen Fu Yi knelt in front of the Law Palace. Clear tears flowed down his face. With a cry, a wisp of soul flowed out from between his eyebrows. Buzz. In an instant, Venerable Coverleaf felt as if he had been cut off from the world. His mind turned back to look at the smiling Sue-Yi. The corner of Venerable Coverleaf's mouth sank as he said in a low voice, "Black Envoy. Take him back." Chapter 2485. Boss! Master Sue-Yi. Feng Kuang's sword, Feng Yun, Feng Yu, Su Xiaoshui, Su Tianke, and the others all shouted. Light exploded, and boiling killing intent surged out. Suddenly, the 4 black envoys stood in front of Sue-Yi. They slowly turned their heads and saw Sue-Yi's calm face. "Let's do what we have to do. Our goal is to save the Starfield," Sue-Yi said with a smile. "Let's go. You're the best at bragging," the black envoys urged Sue-Yi. In front of him, Venerable Leaf also heard Sue-Yi's words. He paused for a moment, and a slight shock appeared on his face. Then, he disappeared. Boom! A huge space vortex appeared out of thin air, and Sue-Yi, Venerable Leaf, and the others left. "What should we do? We have to save Master Sue-Yi." Feng Kuang One Sword's eyes were red. He was so anxious that he was about to spit fire. Let's go back and discuss this, Su Xiaoshui said coldly. Feng Kuang, one sword, and the other Starfield elders were very anxious. They kept talking at the same time. No, sir. You don't know what kind of place the judicial court is. It's always a place where you can enter but not leave. Sir, you can't be careless. That's the most capable helper of Southern Domain's dominator. The judicial court is not a joke. Su Xiaoshui, who was a little annoyed, had reached the limit of his patience. He shouted in a shrill voice, "Damn it! I know it too. Stop talking. Go save him. If you can't, then shut up." Everyone was silent. Pairs of innocent eyes looked at Su Xiaoshui, Su Tianke, and the others in shock. How can we save Sui? Ling Lanin looked at Su Tianke helplessly. Su Tianke looked helplessly at Su Xiaoshui, who was pacing back and forth in the room with his fat hands behind his back. Su Xiaoshui tapped the coffee table. "Don't panic. I know our boss's strength the best. Before he left, he told us to do what we have to do. Let's go to the Chaos Demon Starfield when we're ready. The Disorder Demon Star Zone." Su Diank's eyes lit up. The Chaos Demon Starfield was where Su Tianke and Ling Lanin had found clues about the realm of the gods. That's right. Boss is the Chaos Demonic Emperor. What can these small galaxies do to him? Handsome Su said. Immediately, the three of them called Feng Kuang Yijian over and told him about the clues. Feng Kuang Yijian immediately agreed to go with them. In the palace of the Dharma Master, the starry sky was vast and boundless. The four black envoys escorted Su Yi to the palace under the guidance of Venerable Fu Yi. Bright spots of light floated in the air. Some were like spirits, some were like spirits, some were like demons, and some were like humans. They emitted a mysterious radiance. "Let's go." Black Mission ordered Su Yi. But no matter how hard the black emissaries tried, Su Yi's expression never changed. He walked gracefully and leisurely, and the four black emissaries followed him like little brothers. "You're so hateful." The black emissaries raised their fists and were about to hit Su Yi's head. "If I were you, I wouldn't challenge someone you can't defeat," Su Yi said as he put his head under his fist. The four black emissaries roared and exerted their strength at the same time. One of the black emissaries said angrily, "You're still lying when you're here. No one has ever dared to be so arrogant in front of us four brothers." Suddenly, Su Yi laughed wildly and lowered his feet. No matter how hard the black emissaries tried to drag him, he wouldn't budge at all. He was as immovable as a rock. "If you want to play, I'll play with you." Su Yi's eyes shone brightly and his body was instantly enveloped by a blazing light. Swish! The invisible wings on his back flapped rapidly and pulled the chains of the four black emissaries up. At the same time, he tapped his feet lightly and a vortex suddenly appeared. He turned into a ball of light and shot toward the void. Swish! 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 Deep in the sky, Su Yi's wild and wanton laughter reverberated in the depths of the sky. At this moment, Venerable Leaf didn't look back. She lifted her feet and walked toward the high stairs of the palace. Bam! Four heavy thuds resounded again. The four black emissaries fell to the ground like dead pigs. They saw stars and foamed at the mouth as they fainted. Clapping his hands lightly, Su Yi's robe fluttered and his eyes flashed. He quickly caught up with Venerable Leaf with a smile on his face. He was calm and unruffled. "Did you let me catch you on purpose?" Venerable Leaf lifted the front of her dress slightly. Her voice was like the spring water in the mountains, cold and smooth. Su Yi pursed his lips and shrugged. He looked at the beauty who was supposed to be able to topple cities and said seriously, "Am I not the one who followed you here?" At this moment the two of them entered the palace. Venerable Leaf was slightly startled. She smiled and continued to walk forward. "How interesting! You are the first person who wants to follow me into the Spell Master's palace. I'm afraid there won't be anyone else in the future." Su Yi opened his palm. His pupils kept scanning the exquisite carvings on the walls. The beautiful and holy carvings on the walls depicted the magnificent scene of the realm of the gods since the first immemorial catastrophe. On the other side, the carvings depicted the flourishing scene of various star areas after the second immemorial catastrophe. "What do you want to do?" Fu Yi walked in front. She didn't seem to treat Su Yi as a prisoner. Su Yi raised his eyebrows and thought for a while. "It's very simple. I want to know some clues about the realm of the gods from you." The spell master caught Su Yi to get information about the realm of the gods. However, Su Yi said the opposite. Fu Yi smiled and didn't say anything. If Su Yi wasn't an idiot, he was probably a bold fool. Sister Fu Yi, where did you get such an interesting guy?" In the depths of the dome, a bell-like voice suddenly resounded. Immediately, Fu Yi frowned and stopped in his tracks. Whoosh whoosh! A fragrant wind dispersed. Suddenly, a dreamy flower petal storm appeared between heaven and earth. Elegant flower petals slowly fell from the sky. In the colorful and elegant space ripples, a figure slowly walked out. Taking a closer look, the figure of the newcomer was also hot. However, her face changed between mature and immature. If Venerable Leaf was an orchid in the mountains, then this woman was the man-eating demon flower in the 100-Flower Valley. She looked charming, but in reality she could kill. "Yun Chani, long time no see." Fu Yi bowed slightly and quietly stood in front of Su Yi. Su Yi's heart shook. This was one of the 3 spell masters, Yun Chani of the illusory demon star zone. As expected, she was born with a bewitching aura. Su Yi was slightly speechless in his heart. After Yun Chani's gaze swept across Su Yi's body, her lips curled into a smile. "Sister Fu Yi, are you here to bring a clue or a lover?" Chapter 2486. Suddenly, Venerable Fu Ye's eyes flashed with a cold light. His body surged with energy, causing Su Yi's blood to boil. "If you don't know how to speak, you don't have to. If you can't find any clues, it's fine if you admit defeat." Hearing this, Yun Chani's expression changed. Killing intent appeared on her cold lip. She didn't give in at all. "Thanks to Elder Sister, Chani has a way. But Elder Sister, don't bring back people with clues for either others or yourself." Venerable Fu Yi smirked and said coldly, "It's best if you have a way. I'll wait for your good results. Don't disappoint me." Nodding slightly, Fu Yi didn't look at Yun Chani anymore, leaving Yun Chani alone. "Let's go." In front of Yun Chani, Fu Yi moved his hand and said softly. Su Yi faintly glanced at Yun Chani. The corner of his mouth twitched slightly as he quickly caught up with Venerable Overleaf. The two met face to face. Yun Chani's eyes flashed and she said seductively, "Little brother?" Su Yi raised his head. Yun Chani followed him, ignoring Fu Yi. Her charming eyes lingered on Su Yi's body like spring water. Suddenly, a soul pressure poured on Su Yi's body. Bang! Instantly, Yun Chani's face turned red like a peach blossom. She lowered her head like a little girl who had done something wrong. Putting his hand on Yun Chani's shoulder, Su Yi's eyes turned cold. He smiled and said, "Charming is a good thing, but not everyone likes it. Too charming is too vulgar. Come here. What are you doing?" Venerable Fu Yi had his back facing Su Yi. Tilting his head, Su Yi quickly followed after her in a flash. Watching the two of them walk into the palace, Yun Chani lifted her head. Her eyes were vicious as she said, "When Fu Yi, one day, I will step on your head." With an angry shout, a string of pink light disappeared. Yun Chani turned into a string of smoke and scattered outside the palace. "What did you say to that woman just now?" Fu Yi walked forward and brought Su Yi to a quiet valley. In front of the valley, there was an exquisite 3-story house. The dense light was like a divine temple. Fu Yi stopped in front of the house. Su Yi's expression changed. There was actually such a place in the palace. There were all kinds of wonders in the galaxy. Fu Ye's question, Su-yi shrugged his shoulders and said, to help you scold that fox. Su-yi's, Fu Yi said, her eyes intentionally or not. Su-yi didn't stand on ceremony. He found himself a tree trunk in front of the small house and leaned against it. He stretched out his hand lazily and plucked a spirit fruit, tasting it. As the spiritual fruit entered his body, it was sweet and fragrant. The energy of heaven and earth instantly surged into the great void divine sea. Although it was not as miraculous as the chaos spiritual liquid, it was still a rare holy item in the sky barbarian world. In comparison, the sky barbarian world was definitely poor and backward. It was no wonder that Wild Owl looked down on them. As he chewed on the spirit fruit, Su-yi's eyes were half open as he admired Fu Yi. Women like her were stubborn and could not be judged by common sense. She was a bit like Duanmu Xiaoman. If you look at her one more time, you can forget about keeping your eyes. Fu Yi said, I'm speaking for you because I can't stand that woman's conduct. She thinks she can do whatever she wants just because she's prettier than you. I hate this kind of woman the most. Also, when I look at you, I feel a natural closeness to you. That's why I look at you more. Thump. Fu Yi suddenly stood up. Her eyes were filled with anger. She turned and walked into the house. She said softly, Don't say such nice things. I don't like to force people. I'll give you 2 hours. Wait for me to come out and tell me everything you know. There was no room for rejection. Fu Yi was already standing in front of the house. Su-yi ignored her and pretended to be asleep. She's really prettier than me? Fu Yi stopped in her tracks. She seemed to be unconvinced and turned around. Seeing that Su-yi was not replying, Fu Ye's expression instantly turned cold. She did not say a word and walked into the house in a fit of anger. Only when Fu Ye's figure disappeared did Su-yi smile. He laughed softly and leisurely laid on the tree trunk. In terms of appearance, Yun Chani was not as pretty as Fu Yi. As for the second sentence, it was also true. Fu Yi looked like she was in her early 30s. However, she gave people a natural sense of closeness as if she was a relative. It was because of this feeling that Su-yi decided to come with Fu Yi. Intuition was never wrong. Fu Yi would not kill him. After coming, just as he expected, Fu Yi did not interrogate him like a criminal. The more this was the case, the more Su-yi was curious. Boom! Not long after, a deafening sound of metal rang out from the top of the small house. A golden light shone brightly in the sky. In the golden vortex, a faint figure slowly appeared. Su-yi, who had an outstanding spiritual sense, immediately activated the primordial origin supreme technique and retracted his aura. After reaching the half-step Yuan Tian stage, Su-yi was more proficient in concealing his Yuan Qi. He turned into a ball of light and entered the valley. In the sky, a man in a white robe clasped his hands together. His face was solemn as he faced the house. Is Sister Fu Yi here? His voice was deep and powerful. It was like the sound of a large bell. The entire valley trembled. In Su-yi's sight, Fu Yi slowly walked out. She was floating in the air and her seductive body slightly bowed. Brother Fu Yi! Brother Fu Yi! The person who came was the Law Master of the Divine Yi Galaxy, Lord Fu Yi. Su-yi's eyes darkened. He held his breath and listened to the conversation between the two. May I know why Brother Fu Yi is here? The Decennial Dharma Controller Conference is about to begin. Junior Sister Chani should have come to find you, right? Faye looked up, his eyes glaring like Vajra. Fu Yi nodded lightly and said, She just came. This time, the Law Master Conference will be held in the Elysium Galaxy. Although you are from the Elysium Galaxy, there are some things that I can't help but nag. Fu Yi doesn't quite understand what you mean. Fu Yi closed his eyes and said in a low voice, Sister Chan E and you are all law masters of our galaxy. Don't you know what justice is? The Law Master Conference is held once every 10 years. It is held for 10 years to identify clues. At the end of the conference, everyone will come up with a plan to deal with the immemorial Great Calamity. This has been the rule for many years. I heard that in the past 2 years, Nanku has been hiding a woman. She is very related to the realm of the gods. Nanku is one of the 3 realm masters, so I can't say much. You are from the Elysium Galaxy. You should abide by the Law Master's commandment. During the conference, you should show us clues. Don't let the Elysium Galaxy destroy the entire galaxy for their own selfish desires. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.